see a large appear on the horizon. You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Overnight success. The Blazinator 3000. Double blaze. Right. That's misinformation.
Market clearing order inbound.
That's just wrong.
We are surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Come, get up. Trust the experts. Vibe coding. We are experts. Founder mode. Vibe coding.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Experts.
UAV online.
Glaze. Double glaze. Triple glaze. Double kill. Vibe code. Wrong. Pump is up. Glaze.
Team deathmatch.
We are experts. Triple glaze. That's just wrong. Right.
Market clearing order inbound.
Come, get up.
We are surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Strike one. Strike two. Activate Golden Retriever mode. Trust the experts.
Market clearing order inbound.
Vibe coded.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Founder mode.
You're watching TVPN.
Today is Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. We are live from the TVPN Ultradome, the temple of technology,
The fortress of finance, the capital of capital.
Ramp.com, time is money, save both.
Save
Easy to
both,
use
folks.
corporate cards, bill pay, accounting, and a whole lot more all in one place. We actually ran into some good folks at Ramp. today at
Ann
breakfast.
and Calvin.
A very good omen to the start of 2026 to run into some folks at Ramp. We had a good time. Anyway, they were here in LA. They're working on a secret project that I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But
You'll hear about it.
where they weren't is they're not at CES. Because Ramp is not a consumer electronics project.
Yet.
Yet.
You could see them get into the AI hardware
Maybe.
space.
Maybe. They should launch a TV.
You shouldn't count anyone out.
They should
yet.
launch a TV.
I saw that Razer launched an AI companion. You know, Razer computer.
Oh, yeah,
like
the gaming company.
They have an AI companion now.
Companion.
They launched at CES. So you should never count anyone out.
Yeah, it really is like the festival of creativity for like weird AI projects, weird tech projects. Everyone has some side. It has a little bit of like hacker culture to it almost, but it's also a little washed, right?
Is it hacker?
It's not hacker. It's more just like, I don't know, bizarre spin-offs. What do you think?
I think I think at this point it's like fairly boomer coded.
It's very boomer coded, but it's also
I would
like
describe it as somewhat.
There's novelty to it.
So I think I was talking to a buddy who texted me yesterday morning.
Yeah.
He said, "Are you at CES this week?"
Yeah.
He seemed desperate to hang out, and I said, "Unfortunately, I'm not." And I was thinking about it, and in some ways, it feels like somewhat of a humiliation ritual for people in tech to say, like, you just had this nice holiday, and now we're going to force you to go to Vegas and schmooze
for a week,
for 5 days.
Get ready to go to Vegas.
Get ready to schmooze.
It sounds exhausting. I've actually never been to CES, but do you know what they call CES? They still got it in terms of the branding. They're coming in strong.
What is it?
CES refers to itself as the most powerful tech event in the world. Really bringing the superlatives.
It might be. It might be. I mean,
I think it still is.
It probably still is.
Okay.
There's a bunch of launches that we should talk about. I want to talk about the smart brick.
Okay,
from,
for sure.
From Lego. But why don't we go into your op-ed?
Yeah. So I call it the death of the tech conference because I noticed something which we'll get into. But what's interesting is like CES launched so long ago, 1967. Isn't that like, I would have said like 85, maybe 92, right? 67.
What were the consumer electronics at the first event?
So, I mean, the number of things that launched at CES is actually crazy. So, the VCR launched at CES. Like the thing that you put the tape into. I know you don't watch movies and you never had a VCR. I had a VCR.
I actually
did.
You
have a VCR?
I actually did.
You had a VCR?
Like a personal little...
Yeah, you put the tape in, you have to rewind it when you're done watching the movie. That launched at CES. CES started in 1967. It was a sleepy affair until 1970 when Philips unveiled its N1500 video cassette recorder. Until that point, VCRs cost upwards of $50,000. Imagine dropping 50 G's on it.
Okay, at the first one in 1967, they had transistor radios, early color televisions, phonographs, and tape recorders.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you more about what launched at CES, but first I'm going to tell you about Lambda. Lambda is the super intelligence cloud building AI supercomputers for training and inference at that scale from one GPU to hundreds of thousands.
Can we show our new?
We have the Lambda lightning round. We have a cloud, a physical cloud. This is not AI generated, not CGI. It's
here in the studio.
And we're very excited for Lambda lightning round. We have a lightning round today with a bunch of folks, including Jake Paul is joining. We have Jamie Siminoff. We have Matt from Doctronic. We have a lot of folks. All of that is in the linear run of show, which we can show you. The linear lineup, taking you through
Pull it up. There we go.
Day.
Alex Epstein, Jamie Siminoff.
We're going to dive into the piece that I wrote yesterday about energy with Alex. He's an expert in energy production.
Are going to cap it off with Lulu today.
We got a massive lineup. So anyway, speaking of lineups, the lineup of stuff that launched at CES, the Atari Pong console in 1975, the CD player launched in 1981 at CES, the Commodore 64, 1982, the DVD at 1996, the Xbox in 2001. And we really got to play this video of how the Xbox launched because it will, 2001, Bill Gates gets on stage at CES. He doesn't host his own conference, which is what I'm going to talk about, my thesis of like why the tech conference is dying. But he launches, and you know, today we think we're so cool. Oh, tech companies, they have vibe reels, and they have cinematic videos, and they go on podcasts, and they do podcast circuits when they launch things. Get on stage with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That's the bar, because that's exactly what Bill Gates did in 2001 when he launched the Xbox. We got to play this video
with
We're
Dwayne.
unveiling the Xbox.
Look at this.
This is the product that will be out later this year, and there's an amazing amount going on. Working with partners who help build the hardware, working with the software developers, working with the retailers. The program around this thing is really quite phenomenal. But the box itself is another thing that we put a lot of energy
It's a
into.
box.
So you may have been wondering what this great device was here.
This is showmanship.
This is the Xbox.
This is
And
the
so,
Xbox.
for the first time, let me now unveil
Look at this.
Xbox.
Whoa. Do you ever have one of these?
With the controller
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
plexiglass. Very cool.
Yeah, dangling down there. This was iconic. Play Call of Duty,
As I
the original
said,
Modern Warfare was on there.
The design here
Halo.
was driven by spending
great.
time with gamers. Actually putting the control in their
Whoa.
hands.
Yeah,
We tried
the
out
controller was
100
huge.
different
The first
form
controller
factors
was so
and
big they
define
had to
what
make a
was the
smaller
most
one
comfortable
because they just went
with
like
them
way too
to
big
have
for some
the
reason. I guess they were
play.
testing on the wrong
It's a game
type
that you
of people
played
or something.
Were they testing on you?
No, there's this whole meme that it was like really good for Shaq, but that was it. And Shaq loved it or something like that. I seem to remember this. I don't know.
Extra loaded as you move
That's it.
from level to level. What you're seeing on the front, the eject, the on-off button, and
at this.
4 game ports. That was one of the big pieces of feedback was people didn't want to be limited to 2.
The PlayStation, I think, just had 2 at the time, and maybe the N64 had 4, but this was like a big jump forward.
People.
And then
this
Dwayne
box-
comes out?
Yeah, 246. While
So
they
you're
are
sitting there
skipping ahead, let me
holding
tell you
it.
about
You're
Labelbox,
feeling what's
delivering
going
you the highest quality data for frontier AI. And we can go to 2 minutes and 46 seconds.
That are so
And
state of the art
we
that
go.
they'll only be done right as we finish the manufacturing. So we'll plug those chips in. Except for that, everything in this box is the final design.
here we go. Look at this. Getting a celebrity like that. Like, OpenAI had so many announcements this
Look at
year.
the fit,
There was
too.
the whole
The
Scarlett
glasses.
Johansson thing. They didn't bring out The Rock.
Yeah, I might want to use that sometime, Bill.
Well, thanks, Rock. And it really is
Thanks,
an honor to
Rock.
have you
Thanks,
here.
Rock.
The
for being here to
celebrity
announce
cameo
my
in
box.
tech launch is completely forgotten art. We don't know how to do this anymore.
5-time WWF champion.
All right, pause for a second.
Yeah.
Because I think people would be shocked at how inexpensive it could be to work
yeah.
with a effect. I don't know about A-list, but maybe like an
someone-
aging out,
yes.
like somebody that was iconic.
Yes,
an
yes,
actor,
yes, totally.
an athlete, etc. And
Yeah.
just instead of spending $30,000 on some insane launch video,
Yeah.
just get a camera and hire some celebrity
Yeah.
and have them explain your product.
That would be genius. Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of these.
There was that drink company that did this. Do you remember? They had some celebrity
Yes.
like read every
I
sign.
do remember that. Yeah.
Orca.
Yeah, Orca. Yeah.
Yeah.
We remember it today. And a lot of founders have figured out how to marshal the right resources for really cinematic footage, good editing, a bunch of things to introduce their product. But some of them just aren't charismatic on camera, unfortunately, and they just don't have the reps. So if you bring in a celebrity, it can just also it's just way more thumb stopping. Like you're just gonna be scrolling and be like, oh, what is The Rock doing there promoting your product? Obviously,
Yeah.
not everyone has the resources of Microsoft. I bet that was expensive, and who knows how doable it is. But I bet if you get creative, there is a way to do it. Anyway, CES when it launched. I thought this was impressive. 1967, no precedent. There's not really a tech community. It's sort of new. 17,000 people show up, 200 companies put on exhibitions. That seems like a lot. It's grown not even 10x. I mean, this was this year or in 2024, they had 130,000 attendees. Like it's grown a lot, but it's not, it started out pretty big. I personally love consumer technology. I've always been like a tech nerd and liked tinkering with gadgets and whatnot. But I think this year should be more interesting because the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, IoT, all that stuff was like sort of annoying. Maybe the AI stuff gets annoying, but I still feel like there's more opportunity for actually cool integrations with AI in all sorts of different hardware things. At the same time, I was at Best Buy over the break and I saw a TV that said it was powered by AI, and I was just shuddering thinking about how bad of an experience that probably was. Because like, what is it going to be trying to do? It's probably not integrating like a frontier model. It's probably some really, really sloppy thing. Probably just
Samsung
marketing
had
slapped
a big
on there.
announcement last year.
Perplexity integration.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
and
makes a ton of sense.
And again, I just think anytime you're in a situation where you could ask your TV for information, it's probably easier to ask your phone.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Usually. And so I think you need to be a little bit more first principles when you think about these integrations thing. We'll get into some of the stuff that actually launched that sounded interesting. But I wanted to go into the history of like how the tech conference, like the tech conference that's not linked to a single company sort of died, and a lot of it goes back to the iPhone, actually. So the iPhone, probably the biggest consumer electronics product in history. It should have been launched at the Consumer Electronics Show. Like, it is the consumer electronics juggernaut. It should have been launched
most important consumer product
ever
of the 21st century.
Totally. And they got scooped by Macworld because Jobs wanted more control over how the presentation would go. So he chose to debut the iPhone at Macworld in San Francisco on January 9th, 2007. And Macworld was technically independent from Apple. So the conference was created by IDG, this international data group. Very interesting story there. They had Computer World and PC World and a bunch of different conferences, publications. That got started a magazine or a newspaper.
International Data Group.
Fantastic.
We don't know how to make names like that.
Yeah, it's right up there with IBM. Seriously. And he kind of scaled this business. Eventually, Macworld was technically independent from Apple, but Apple was like obviously the cornerstone draw to the event, so they'd give them the keynote, great floor space, and then all the other independent third-party Mac developers. So if you were developing a piece of software or even just like a phone case, it didn't make sense at that time, but like you could imagine all sorts of different peripherals, a printer, you'd go there and figure out partnerships and do deals. Launching the iPhone at Macworld, which happened at the exact same time as CES, it allowed Jobs to control everything about the big reveal, the lighting, the pacing. He was famously like fanatical about this. He rehearsed for weeks and weeks and weeks. He wanted things exactly. He wanted certain demos to happen after, and he just got way more control at Macworld than he would have gotten at CES. And the big thing is that at CES, journalists go around from booth to booth and they compare spec sheets. So with TVs, we know like 4K, 8K, 3D, not 3D, OLED or refresh rate or number of ports, price point. So they create these like charts and they keep everything in a category. And he wanted to be category defining and he wanted to break the category. And he also did not want to be compared to the Nokia
BlackBerry?
N95. No, the Nokia N95 was actually the best. Weird name,
It was more performant.
Yeah, it beat it on basically everything at the time.
He didn't want to go spec to spec.
He didn't. So the Nokia had 3G already. It had GPS. It allowed for copy pasting of text. It had a front-facing camera. It had a 5 megapixel
He's like,
rear.
until we can copy and paste.
Yeah,
we don't have that.
Seriously.
We don't have that power
No,
yet.
the number of features of the Nokia N95 was crazy. It could record videos. The iPhone couldn't record videos. It had a 5 megapixel camera instead of a 2 megapixel camera. It even had an FM radio, which I don't think anyone really wants. But it had a bunch of features that if you just created a table of iPhone versus Nokia N95, the Nokia beat it on like 10 different specs. The only thing that the iPhone really had going for it was that it had a touchscreen, and the Nokia didn't. But people didn't think they wanted a touchscreen at that point because most touchscreens were terrible, and the iPhone sort of had the first good touchscreen. And then also it had some other unique Apple innovations like a full-featured Safari web browser, but it didn't even have third-party apps. The Nokia did. And so Steve Jobs was able to sort of reframe the whole iPhone discussion as like, it's just this own thing, don't comp us to Nokia. Why are we talking about Nokia? We're not going to talk about Nokia. They're not at Macworld. They're not allowed to be here.
Best marketer of all time.
Clearly. And everyone copied him. So very, very quickly, every tech company wanted to do the same thing, set their own agenda, have full control over the event from start to finish. Apple actually pulled out of Macworld 2 years later, started doing WWDC and their own self-hosted events, self-distributed events. Obviously, technology itself makes a lot of that easier. Cameras are cheaper. You can live stream. You can go to Restream, and you can get your event everywhere. So you have Google I/O, Microsoft Build, Meta Connect, Samsung Unpacked. Like when Zuck introduced the latest Meta Ray-Ban displays, he didn't do it at CES. He didn't wait for CES. He was just like, I'm going to have my own event. He did it at his own event. He created his own news cycle, and it was like, he had full control over that. And so everyone's followed Jobs' playbook, and it's been remarkably successful. Like I don't think it's been a miss. The older trade show format still works for lots of companies, and big tech companies do still have presences. So just today at CES or yesterday, Jensen was there, and NVIDIA unveiled Vera Rubin, their new...
which looks incredible.
Yeah, but also it's not a consumer electronics product. It's kind of an odd place to do it, but it's like a fun event. But even NVIDIA has their own conferences now. So, my main takeaway is just in terms of key moments in tech history, I don't expect them to happen at independent trade shows anymore. And truthfully, they haven't happened there for decades. We looked at the VCR and the CD player and the Xbox. That's over 25 years old now at this point. Although the Rock alongside Bill Gates is an iconic moment, but that is of old at this point. And still, there's plenty to get from a show from CES. It's a fantastic place. If you're in the industry, you don't go as a fan. A lot of people who are Apple fans will watch an Apple keynote just to know, hey, should I buy the new iPhone? You don't really go to CES with that same idea or that goal. You go because you're there looking for a supplier or someone to distribute, or
you go because
you're in the industry.
Your CEO is got
so get ready to drink, buddy, in Vegas.
Get ready to go.
Seriously. Anyway, let me tell you about CrowdStrike. Your business is AI. Their business is securing it. CrowdStrike secures AI and stops breaches. And there are some fun things that did launch at CES. The first thing that I wanted to go through was the Wall Street Journal's write-up of CES coverage. It's interesting because it's almost no consumer electronics. So, of course, they highlighted NVIDIA, the faster artificial intelligence chips, Vera Rubin, the CPU, GPU combination. Mercedes-Benz, NVIDIA has a partnership to make the first autonomous car built in partnership with Mercedes-Benz, set to hit U.S. roads in the first 3 months of this year.
The tire of my Mercedes-Benz exploded autonomously this morning on the way to work.
You've been complaining about the roads in LA and making this point like you need an SUV since the beginning of the show.
and what's happened?
Yeah.
I've had 3 tires blown out on LA roads. I do think I was complaining about. I'm not sure if it was on air or off here, but at least in the last 48 hours, I was joking about needing an SUV for the LA roads, and of course, this morning at 5:35 a.m., the tire did not survive a pothole. Anyways,
ridiculous.
Going forward, AMD, the journal says AMD also unveiled its latest AI chips known as the Instinct, which will launch later this year. They're expected to be AMD's strongest competition to NVIDIA yet. Shares fell more than 2%, however. Uber, the ride-hailing company, plus EV maker Lucid and Nuro have begun on-road testing for their planned robotaxi service. Uber expects to offer the service in San Francisco later this year. Stock jumped 5.5%. So CES, at least announcements are still moving the market.
There's some other cool stuff. I mean, Dell's in here. They're reviving the XPS computer line, but they also launched a massive 52-inch monitor or something like that, a 6K monitor. And I feel like that could be pretty sick if you need.
If you're monitoring situations,
of course.
Get like 6 of these.
Let me tell you about Console. Console builds AI agents that automate 70% of IT, HR, and finance support, giving employees instant resolution for access requests and password resets. Lego launched a smart brick. And
there we go.
High-tech Star Wars toys.
This was the launch of the year contender, and it's the first week of January. So let's pull it up if
let's
watch
here.
Let's watch this. For a smart minifigure, and you'll see from the sound and the color when it detects it. But it's not just looking for the minifigure; it knows who that minifigure is, and actually, it knows where that minifigure is. So as I move the minifigure around, you'll see different lights and colors depending on where the minifigure is compared to the brick.
What does this allow us to do? Well, you
more
saw
dopamine for children. Let's go.
I think this is good. I remember
we turned every Lego brick into a mini iPad.
I remember
We're excited to addict your children to Legos.
There was some sort of Lego programmable computer, but it was much larger. It was about this big when I was a kid, and
Lego Mindstorm.
Mindstorms. That was it. That was amazing because you could actually learn to program a little bit, and you could do little like self-driving cars, like line following. You could draw a line on the ground that could have a little camera that looked at the line and follow it around, and it just let you build.
Ryan says the Lego Turbo Puffer is going to need a rebuild.
Totally.
Simon, we need to make this a smart Lego Puffer.
Smart Puffer,
ASAP.
for sure. But yeah, so Lego's launching the most ambitious brick it's ever made. A tiny computer that fits entirely inside a classic 2x4 Lego brick. It will make entire Lego sets come to life with humming lightsabers, roaring engines, light-up blasters, and more. From The Verge. Tom
Love
Warren's
it.
coverage. Very cool.
And of course, Boston Dynamics.
Yeah.
Demo champions of the world.
Yeah. They got to give
best to ever
these
demo.
robots some 11 Labs voices. 11 Labs build intelligent, real-time conversational agents. Reimagine human technology interaction.
It actually is a real
with
call to
11
action.
Labs.
Let your robots talk.
Yeah.
With 11 Labs.
It definitely needs it as a feature. But
so
let's run through Sawyer's post.
Boston Dynamics
Yeah.
is starting the year strong.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be upset that Figure is valued at roughly one Ford Motor Company, and they're not happy about it. So they're launching. They had a new video of various Boston Dynamics
They should
robots
be the
in
de
a
facto
Hyundai.
winner. Yeah, here. They've been doing this for so long. But I don't know. It looks good. I don't know. How tall is it? 2.3 meters? Oh, that's how long it can reach. That's pretty big. I feel like a lot of the humanoids have been really, really small, just kind of like smaller. Is this not CGI? I can't even tell at this point. It's hard to...
This looks like
wow. That was a cool move.
The way that it can move.
That was a
great.
Cool move.
The way that it stands up is wild too. There's a video of it standing up. It looks like a spider, and then it just kind of.
Yeah, very disconcerting, but that one is crazy. Oh, that we saw this from one of the Chinese humanoid.
Do you think
makers,
that?
Where it
Do you
swaps
think that
its own
this
battery?
maybe one of their first use cases could be gloving?
Oh yeah, that's really
EDM.
trendy. I've been seeing that.
EDM shows.
Gloving. I saw some video of somebody gloving on an airplane or something. You see that one? But yeah, you saw that.
Tyler, you need to start gloving.
Yeah,
when a founder, anytime a founder raises more than $100 million, you got to say, "Can I glove for you?"
Can I glove for you? What is that from? Like EDM culture or something? I don't know. That's very funny.
Dark.
What else is in this?
The Boston Dynamics robot has an operating temperature range of -4 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty interesting, all the way up to 104.
104.
6 feet 2 inches tall.
104 feels like that's
got a great build, honestly. 6'2", 198 pounds, can work in -4.
What's its mid-face ratio?
How's its upper maxilla?
It's a circle.
It's a circle. Okay, well, perfect. That's a perfect ratio, I guess.
So apparently Hyundai is preparing to deploy tens of thousands of their robots into their manufacturing facilities. So
66 pounds sustained, weight capacity. Most people can lift more than that. Come on, we got to get those numbers up. But this will be interesting. I wonder what the future of this company's traded hands so many times. It's owned by Hyundai right now. They got to spin it out. They got to go public. They got to get this thing in the public markets again. They got to launch on the New York Stock Exchange. If they want to change the world, they got to raise capital at the New York Stock Exchange.
Great idea. Should we talk about Jamie Dimon?
Let's do it.
In the New York Times today, Jamie Dimon's $770 million haul shows how bankers are on top again. Mm-hmm. Let's give it up for the bankers.
Is this gong-worthy?
This is gong-worthy.
Let's do it. First gong.
The Trump admin is lifting regulations and deal-making is heating up for Jamie Dimon. Being J.P. Morgan Chase's chief executive was more lucrative in 2025 than ever. For nearly 15 years, Jamie Dimon, the bank chieftain, has carried around what might as well be a talisman when he sees regulators, elected officials, and journalists.
Wait, what? Talisman? What are you talking about?
At just the right time in meetings, he breaks out a single-page printout that he calls a spaghetti chart. On it, Mr. Dimon's underlings have crammed in tiny type a comically complicated flowchart meant to represent the various laws and regulations to which his company, J.P. Morgan Chase, is subject. The theatrics have finally worked. The Trump admin is not just taking apart regulations, but attacking the whole regulatory agencies that date back to the 2008-2009 financial crisis and were meant to keep banks from giving in to their worst impulses. The regulators have also made it easier for banks to peddle in risky assets again, like cryptocurrency, and President Trump paused enforcement of foreign anti-bribery rules. Interesting. The deregulatory bonanza alone makes it the best time in a generation to be a banker, but there's more. Falling interest rates and a permissive set of antitrust overseers are helping reverse a lull in the lucrative business of arranging M&A as the $100 billion bidding war between Netflix and Paramount for Warner Brothers Discovery shows. Once imperiled real estate loans look steadier thanks to the rebound in in-office work. Stocks are near record levels. The bond market had its best year since 2020, and gold and silver have soared, all of which feeds the trading businesses that keep Wall Street's profit machine humming.
Let's hear it. Profit machine.
In other words, as analysts at Keefe, Bruyette, and Woods recently put it, there's something for everyone. Big bank stocks rose 29% in 2025, almost doubling the gain of the U.S. Stock market overall. Smaller lenders and community banks, which tend to have a narrower focus on areas such as residential mortgages and consumer checking accounts, also gained, but performed considerably less well. So again, I mean, a big part of this is banks have just been, obviously lending with their hands tied behind their backs as the private credit chat.
That's true. That's actually true. Yeah.
So they're just sitting
and
here.
It's sort of the same thing with like crypto. It's like if there's going to be if you're going to have a competitor that's like way less regulated, that is a very that's a huge.
And why would I work with J.P. Morgan Chase when I can work with World Liberty Financial? Which is reinventing. Financial.
Like the whole debanking, bankless movement and stuff. Like I don't know that it's been a huge headwind. But
no, I think the combination of M&A and private credit that they have just been. Private credit is just much more loosely regulated. A combination of salary, bonuses, dividends, stock grants, and appreciation in his allotment of the bank shares yielded roughly $770 million for Jamie Dimon. For the chief executives of Citi, whose shares rose more than 65% in 2025 after the bank slashed tens of thousands of jobs in a years-long restructuring, and Goldman Sachs shares.
Tyler labor displacement.
Not because
you're going to be
because they were up 60.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the way that you reacted there looked a little suspicious.
No,
cheering
obviously
for the labor displacement, but this is not AI driven, of course.
So, anyways, they're counting some unrealized gains here, of course. But anyways, big year for Jamie Dimon.
Let's see.
Should we pop over to Tuna?
Yeah. What's in
Tuna says your
But first, let me tell you about Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform that grows with your business and lets you sell in seconds online, in-store, on mobile, on social, on marketplaces, and now with AI agents, baby.
That's right. Tuna says your soul is out of balance because you have fallen out of touch with your consumer demographic. Pay more attention to your personalized ads. Let them flow through you.
Yeah.
Pay attention. They do really tell you something about where your energy.
I've been getting. Speaking of the CES consumer products, I've been getting personalized ads for the board, the smart game board. But we had the founder on the show, and I bought one. And
I bought one too.
What? Give me your review. What'd you think?
Haven't played it yet.
No.
So here's the challenge.
Yeah.
We had less help around the house.
Sure.
Over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And board is designed for kids I think it's like 6 and up. Like it's not like a under 5 game. And so trying to pull that out and play when you're just gonna have like a 1 or 3-year-old just messing with it, it's pretty much impossible. But I'm excited to play it. Hopefully this week.
You guys should play live during the show right here.
We should. Yeah. The review from the 4.5-year-old was A+. He loved it.
What'd you play?
We stuck to the more simple games, I think. Also, they're still rolling out some of the games, so it ships and you get a number of pieces in bags, and some of the pieces that they ship to you, the games haven't actually finished. They haven't finished coding them, I guess, and so they're not live. But we played this sort of like Space Invaders game that you put this like sort of triangle block on the screen, and then when you're in this one zone, you're basically firing at these like asteroids that come by, and you break them up, and you get the score. And it was interesting. It was intuitive enough that the 4-year-old could pick it up and actually get some points, but there were enough layered mechanics that if you collected enough of this material, you could turn on this massive laser beam that would sort of like destroy everything. So there was like, I found myself being like, oh, I know that that it's possible to get 4,000 points even though we're averaging like 2,500 points now, if I really max this out and we were to play this at a high level, like the skill ceiling's actually sort of high, which was fun. So I thought that the game design was pretty good in that one. Then there were.
I love how you don't every game, anything like that, you're just like, I need to max it out.
Oh, for sure.
I need to max it out.
For
like,
sure.
even if you don't care about it, you care about maxing out the score.
Yeah. I told
it's a good
I told Boz this in
personality
MetaConnect. At one point, I had the highest score in Robo Recall in the world.
Okay, so apparently, Mike on our team says, my 3-year-old nephew loves the weird alien dog game. So
is that the one
apparently apparently it is suited for 3-year-olds, and I need to get into it.
Is the weird alien dog one where it comes in the house and you have to wash it off? That's the one, right? Yeah. Because that one's really fun. It's more like a Tamagotchi. Like you're supposed to check on it every day, and it comes in from the house. It's all dirty, so you wash it off, you soap it up, scrub it, and you have all these different tools. So you have a little watering can, and you put the watering can on the screen of the board, and when you do, it sort of showers the pet and then it washes it off.
Yeah.
And,
so I think
that mechanic was really fun too.
For Board to sell 1 million units, they need like a super viral individual game. I don't think it's gonna. It won't be enough to have like a 8 games that are all fun. Like they need a breakout. This is a hits business, right? So they need
like a Catan.
Yeah, like
where
they're
it's
going to
like people are getting together specifically to play this game together. Yeah, none of the games were at that level. All of the games felt like a couple minutes and you're done, and the mechanics, you could play them again. There's some repeatability, but none of the games were so intense that, also there just aren't that many pieces. Like most of the games have like 6 pieces, there's 10 pieces. And so if you had resources, I guess all those resources could be sort of digitally like counted, which might be nice actually, because you can play a more complex game with more resources where, have you ever played one of those board games where there's like 17 different resources and you have all these different tokens and counters, and it's like, it actually gets overwhelming and annoying. I don't know. But let me tell you about Vibe.co, because maybe Vibe should advertise on streaming TV, because Vibe.co is where D2C brands, B2B startups, Board. AI companies advertise on streaming TV, pick channels, target audiences, and measure sales, just like on Meta. That should be their next place to advertise. And
I like it.
And it's a lesson to everyone to get in touch with their consumer demographic and pay more attention to the personal ads. They need to let them flow.
Did you want to talk about capital in the 22nd century?
Yes, let's read Philip Trammell's post. He says, a week ago, Dwarkesh and him, Phil, posted a fun essay using Thomas Piketty's Capital in the 21st Century as a lens through which to explore the possible impacts of AI on inequality, as the Financial Times kindly put it. That was all it was meant to be. The discussion has definitely become more intense than I'd expected. This is my first time on X in any serious way. Welcome to the arena, brother. Get in. Buckle up.
Welcome to the dive bar.
Yeah, but it's been good to see so many people engaging with the essay and the topic. I can't complain about the negative responses, since I expect most of the positive responses were from people who did not read it at all, and just like seeing another reason to tax the rich. That's funny. I hadn't thought about that. I think there's also people that gave it positive responses just because they like Dwarkesh, right? And they're like, oh, cool, new Dwarkesh thing. I'm a fan. But there is one point some people, mainly economists, have raised that I should acknowledge briefly. Also, I mean, this was I don't think they wrote it knowing that there was going to be this whole like Ro Khanna, Peter Thiel, Teddy Schleffer, like the whole like wealth tax thing that was going on in California. And they just happened to drop something that read like a critique or a commentary. It was in the zeitgeist at the same time, but I don't think that was intentional. I think they were working on this piece for like probably months. It's like a paper. So it's not like they were like, oh, let's react to Ro Khanna's viral post and let's hammer this out. I might have even dropped like the day before. But he says he's responding to The Economist that put him in the truth zone, or at least tried to. He says, and before I read this, let me tell you about Vanta. Automate compliance and security. The leading AI trust management platform is Vanta. So they say, The labor share could rise if human-provided goods or and services are gross complements for capital-provided ones, quote, in our utility functions, what Nordhaus 2021 might call on the demand side, and even if we build machines physically capable of producing everything people can, what Nordhaus might call on the supply side, this gross complementarity at the utility level could be maintained indefinitely. Funnily enough, on the long list of blog posts I've been hoping to write for a long time, one is titled "Is Labor a Luxury?" Is about how this possibility is underappreciated, but then makes a case for why I think, on balance, it probably won't happen in the long run. Naturally, I'm especially prioritizing that post for now. As for now, my only substantive reply on the question is a lame, just give me a month. But whether the case is wrong or right, I promise it doesn't rely on a conceptual mistake like assuming that galaxies made of capital will have to get a higher share than labor because they'll be large and productive at producing the incomplete set of goods they are used to produce. Maybe that blog post should have come before this one, but I figured that in writing the current blog post, exploring the case against long-run gross complementarity on the demand side would be a distracting rabbit hole because, one, Piketty implicitly assumes gross substitution across the board already. Two, Nordhaus and related discussion have taken the position that advanced enough machines would probably yield gross substitution across the board so that we need fast-growing all-purpose robots to drive the supply-side singularity or gross substitution on the demand side so that we were satisfied with large quantities of IT consumption goods instead of shifting our demand for non-IT goods. For capital to accumulate rapidly, but consumption to be bottlenecked by labor, the price of consumption goods would have to rise relative to that of capital goods. This is totally fine, of course. We're imagining a very different future in all sorts of ways, and I think it is a very far future, but it is one interesting to think about.
Maybe it'd be helpful to kind of summarize, if people haven't read it, the kind of key fact. So the thesis is basically like inequality is going to get worse because of AI. That's core thesis, and maybe you need to figure out a way to different methods of taxation to redistribute the wealth that is ultimately created if people cannot effectively increase their own capital via their labor. So key factors, they talk about privatization of returns. So like very, very hard to get exposure to XAI right now if you're just a normal person. Two, most people have their wealth in their home, right? And the issue is like home equity is not a good way to benefit from increasing returns to capital that come from automation, right? So if you have a home, I think they said, if you have a home in Ohio and you have like $300,000 locked up in that, you're not going to get some massive incremental return from that. Maybe somebody that is pursuing AI automation or building factories or something. They could like buy your home at a premium, but they could also just buy acres and acres and acres of just like land somewhere else in the U.S. at far, far less. They talk about the end of international sort of catch-up, which is basically that poor countries historically had a lot of cheap labor. They'd bring in capital, they would turn that, and they would
put the cheap labor to work.
They'd create value and retain some of that value, even though a lot of the investment was foreign, and then the sort of, they talk about like wealth transfer as a lot of more developed economies are sort of like aging out effectively. We'll see, but certainly sparked debate. I thought this post from Tomas Barjartur was interesting. This was sort of reaction to the post. Tomas says, both Dwarkesh and his critics imagine an absurd world. Think of the future they argue about. Political economy doesn't change rapidly, even as the speed of history increases, in the literal sense that the speed of thought of the actors who produce history will be thousands of times faster, not to mention way smarter. These are agents to whom we seem like toddlers walking in slow motion. It is complete insanity to expect your OpenAI stock certificates to be worth anything in this world, even if it is compatible with human survival. So many can't contend with the scope of what they project. They can't hold in their mind that things are allowed to be different, so we get bizarre arguments about nonsense. Own a galaxy? ? What does this mean for a human to own a galaxy in an economy operated by minds running thousands to millions of times faster than ours? Children? What sort of children? Copies of your brain state? Are you even allowing yourself to think about the level of bizarreness required? Because these are table stakes, and even they will be economically obsolete curiosities by the time they're created. Things will be much weirder than we can possibly comprehend. How often have property rights been reset throughout history? How quickly will history move in the transition period? Why shouldn't it trample on your stock certificates, if not the air you breathe? But institutions are surprisingly robust. Maybe they are. How long have they existed in their current form? How fast will history be moving exactly? Suppose OpenAI aligns AI, whatever that means. Will it serve the interests of the US government, the CCP? Will they align it to a humanity weighted by wealth, to OpenAI stockholders, to SAMA, to the coterie of engineers who may as well be AIs who actually know WTF is going on, to the coding agent who implements it? Tax policy, question mark? Truly the important question. What does it mean to be a human principle in this world? How robust are these institutions? How secure is the human mind? Extremely insecure, given how easy humans are to scam. There's going to be a lot of incentive to break your mind if you own, check notes, a whole galaxy. Oh, you will have a little AI nanny to defend you now? Wow, isn't that nice? Please return to the beginning of the paragraph. A human owning galaxies? That's bad space opera. Treat the future with the respect it deserves. This scenario is not even close to science fictional enough to happen. So anyways, I guess pushback here generally, like, hey, even in the scenario that you lay out, things could get so crazy that we won't have the institutions just break. The way that the world currently works breaks. The thing with I was thinking about with if you own a bunch of OpenAI shares in this sort of fast takeoff scenario, is this, you know, to maybe there's a world where you could pay for things with OpenAI shares, right? But is a super intelligence going to say, oh yes, I would like to buy some OpenAI shares, right? Or would they just
corners the market,
buys them all, or just rebuild, you know, effectively just rebuild, you know, so this, I think it's in any type of like fast takeoff scenario, how do you actually, it's hard to have, I think the, I love, you know, reading, I love reading this essay. I'd like to see more of them, but it's so difficult to, any scenario you can imagine, there's an infinite number of parallel realities where none of the same ground rules apply. Yeah.
I wonder the 22nd century thing is it does. I mean, you keep coming back to like this idea of fast takeoff, and it feels like even in some sort of like slow progress, like if you just extrapolate like the default trend lines and nothing really changes, like you still see a lot of these effects happen with tech companies becoming more powerful and the owners of capital becoming more powerful. Ben Thompson had an interesting interpretation of this, saying that he said, this gets at what I found the most frustrating, what was most frustrating about Patel and Trammell's point of view. The core assumption undergirding their argument was also about the human condition. It just happened to be negative. And he basically said that like you have to imagine a world where humans remain the same and that they are still like bothered by wealth inequality, because in the scenario there's abundance and there's enough like robots can just create everything, so you have like unlimited, everything you could possibly want from a consumption perspective, but you're still bothered by the fact that like that guy owns 10,000 galaxies and I only own 1,000 galaxies.
Yeah, it's not right.
And that, it doesn't feel balanced, and that's and it's odd because you have to think about this world where, okay, you own galaxies that are hundreds of thousands of years apart, and so it takes you like a million years to get there, and it's like, and maybe you're still bothered by that. Like, it would be funny if we discovered aliens that were just extremely rich. Like, would that make us all worse off? Like, would Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos go to bed sadder if they found aliens like a million light years away?
No, like your size is not size.
Yeah, we're just like, we're actually sitting on an entire planet of diamond, and we're worth quadrillions of dollars. Everyone here is worth quadrillions of dollars. You guys are nowhere near us in terms of wealth. Would that actually bother you, Or would you just be like, it's okay. It's the aliens that are over there. I can't even get to them. It doesn't affect me. Like, how much is wealth inequality a direct focus on like the keeping up with the Joneses, like the neighbor effect, the direct mimetics of like the person that you see as your equal? I don't know. But Ben Thompson kind of returns to this idea that you have to assume that something about the human condition holds where humans are upset by wealth inequality, but they don't value other humans or the work of other humans or the creativity of other humans, and they don't see any value in that. And so, because he's making the point that he quotes Louis C.K. in an October 2008 appearance of Late Night with Conan, and he says, "Everything is amazing right now, and nobody's happy." He says, "You've almost certainly seen this clip, but if not, it's worth watching." Louis C.K. focuses on three incredible technological. Yeah, let me send it to the team and see if we can drop this. He says. Louis C.K. focuses on three incredible technological innovations and how quickly we took them for granted: smartphones, internet access on planes, and the act of flying itself. It's certainly a sentiment I can relate to. In just the last 72 hours, I have chafed at slow airplane Wi-Fi, complained about jet lag from having literally traversed the globe. He went to Taiwan and back, and gotten frustrated at an iPhone bug that is sapping my battery. It is all so terrible. Until I remember, I have access to everything, anything, everywhere, can be anywhere, anytime, and oh yeah, I can achieve both simultaneously. If anything, you can make the case that technological innovations, by virtue of conferring their benefits on everybody, has actually had the perverse effect of making everyone feel worse off. That's a very, very weird concept, but I feel it as well. Let's watch this Louis C.K. clip.
We may be going back to that, by the way, but in a way, good, because when I read things like the foundations of capitalism are shattering, I'm like, maybe we need that. Maybe we need some time where we're walking around with a donkey with pots clanging on the sides.
You think that would just bring us back to reality?
Yeah, because everything is amazing right now, and nobody's happy. Like, in my lifetime, the changes in the world have been incredible. When I was a kid, we had a rotary phone. We had a phone that you had to stand next to. And you have to dial it.
Yes.
You realize how primitive? You're making sparks in a phone. And you actually would hate people with zeros in their numbers because it was more like, oh, this guy's got 2 zeros. Screw that guy. Why do I want to... And then if they called and you weren't home, the phone would just ring lonely by itself. And then if you wanted money, you had to go in the bank for when it was open for like 3 hours. You had to stand in line, write yourself a check like an idiot. And then when you ran out of money, you just go, well, I can't do any more things now.
Right.
I can't do any more things.
That's it, yeah.
That was it. And even if you had a credit card, the guy would go, ugh, and he'd bring out this whole shunk, and he'd write, he'd have to call the president to see if you have any money.
It's all true, kids. You had to call the president, yeah. It was ridiculous.
Yes.
Do you feel that we now, in the 21st century, we take technology for granted?
Well, yeah, because now we live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots that don't care, because this is what people are like now. They got their phone, and they're like, it won't. Give it a second. It's going to space. Can you give it a second to get back from space? Is the speed of light too slow?
It's true.
I was on an airplane, and there was internet, high-speed internet on the airplane. That's the newest thing that I know exists. And I'm sitting on the plane, and they go, open up your laptop. You can go on the internet. And it's fast, and I'm watching YouTube clips. I'm in an airplane.
2008,
and
watching
then it breaks
YouTube
down.
on a TV.
And they apologize. The internet's not working. The guy next to me goes, this is bull. Like, how quickly the world owes him something he knew existed only 10 seconds ago.
Right.
And on planes, flying is the worst one, because people come back from flights and they tell you their story. And it's like a horror story. They act like their flight was like a cattle car in the 40s in Germany. That's how bad they make it sound. They're like, it was the worst day of my life. First of all, we didn't board for 20 minutes. And then we get on the plane, and they made us sit there On the runway, for 40 minutes, we had to sit there. Oh, really? What happened next? Did you fly through the air incredibly like a bird? Did you partake in the miracle of human flight, you non-contributing zero that you got to fly? You're flying! It's amazing. Everybody on every plane should just constantly be going, oh my God! Wow! Yeah! You're flying.
He wants to bring back clapping on after the
when
plane
you land.
lands.
Yeah.
All right, pause it.
Yeah.
This reminded me a couple days ago.
Before you tell us this, let me tell you about Plaid. Plaid powers the apps you use to spend, save, borrow, and invest, securely connecting bank accounts to move money, fight fraud, and improve lending now with AI.
Great stuff, John. Couple days ago, my 1.5-year-old has not been sleeping super well. You know, toddlers, they go through periods where they sleep well and then they stop sleeping well. And with my 3-year-old, we hired when he was going through a similar phase, we hired a sleep consultant. These are people that just help your baby. It's like a sleep coach for your baby and the parents or whatever. And with my 3-year-old, we hired somebody, and they effectively, the effective rate is like hundreds of dollars an hour, right? Because there's some retainer and blah, blah, blah. And it works really well. Like it's a lifesaver. But with the 1.5-year-old, a few days ago, my wife just goes to an LLM and just like breaks down exactly what's happening.
Gets the answer.
And it is effectively running calculations based on the child's age and their sleep patterns now and how to get them back on a better sleep pattern. And within 24 hours, like the problem was totally solved, like back to sleeping on the right schedule, napping on the right schedule, like basically one-shotted it. And I was just thinking how, OpenAI has gotten so much, specifically Sam has gotten so much pushback because he'll go out and say like, we're going to solve this. You're going to have like a personal tutor in your pocket and all this stuff. And then people like, hammer him because it's like, well, then we're doing SORA and we're doing, adult entertainment and things like that. But it's actually like AI is actually already delivering on this sort of.
Do you remember the Fallon clip that went viral, where Fallon asks him like, do you use ChatGPT to parent your kid? And he was like, honestly, like it feels weird to say it, but yes. And it's like that's exactly your experience. It was like it is helpful, and it is a weird thing, but it's this when technology goes broad, it becomes available to everyone. I was reflecting on airplane travel over the break. Those pictures of like back in 1965, planes used to be so nice, and now you're stuffed in the back like cattle. You know these photos where they're like, we got to return to 1965 planes. I ran the numbers, and it turns out that the total amount of flights, or the total amount of passenger flights, like individual person gets on a plane, goes somewhere in the United States, in 1965, in total, across everything, is the same number, almost exactly the same number, as total first class flights in 2025. And so basically, anyone who could fly in 1965 is now flying first class. And then you added, there's 10 times as many non-first class flights that are happening as well. And so it's like you basically actually kept that level of service. It just became known as first class.
Different product.
But in 1965, even just getting on a plane was first class because it was really expensive. It got cheaper, but all the rich people stayed in first class. And then you gave the ability to fly at all to 10 times as many people. And that just continues. And so, but it's this weird thing because that doesn't feel satisfying because you see the people up in first class and you're like, I want to be up there. Let me go back to Ben Thompson and close this out. But first, let me tell you about Figma. Figma Make isn't your average vibe coding tool. It lives in Figma. So outputs look good, feel real, and stay connected to how teams build, prototypes, and
John,
apps.
you always have this critique of the coding models, and you're like, oh, they're not being used by everyone because the United app is so bad.
Yes.
You always have this
Yes.
And then, so there's this post, it's in the timeline.
Okay.
It's someone, they say, one of the things I love about United is how good their iOS app is.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because it works well, and they're just like glazing it.
I talked to Rune about this as well because I brought that up when I was talking to him, and he was like kind of stumped, and then I talked to him again, and he was like, actually, I think it's better than you think it is. I think it's actually pretty good. So I think that I think that you're right, and it's a good point that like the quality of the software is increasing. And I think I've probably been unduly mean to the United app. It's probably better than I'm giving it credit for. I'm probably just remembering bugs from years ago, and I just have a bad taste in my mouth. But there is something that AI is not at least solving immediately, which is just the business realities of where businesses have walled gardens or adversarial business incentives. So I'll give you an example. Apple TV, it's a great product. I love the Apple TV, plug it into your TV, works really well.
Are you talking about the Apple TV
The
device?
physical device.
Yeah.
On the Apple TV physical device, yes, we're going here, is an app called Apple TV. And they have set this to be the default. I didn't know this, but you can actually change the button, the home button on the Apple TV remote to go to the home screen, which has all the icons. So if you want to watch Netflix or HBO, you can go there. But by default, it now ships with the home button goes to the TV app, which is a unifying layer over all of the content. And so if you want to find sports, or you want to find the latest Apple TV show, or you want to find something that's on Peacock or Paramount Plus, that will be integrated in there. And it's a great universal interface. At least it should be a universal interface, except Netflix said, we're not participating. We want to be in our own app. So you cannot find a Netflix show in the TV app on the Apple TV box. And that is something that like no amount of vibe coding, it's not a coding issue. It's a business model issue. It's because Apple and Netflix are in competition. And so they have decided not to do a deal. And that results in a worse user experience, but better like profits for both companies, and it's the rational thing for them to do. And there's no amount of like Claude code that can solve for that. So my take now has evolved to be that.
Why don't you move the goalposts?
I will move the goalposts.
Move the goalposts.
I got to move the goalposts because the AI coding models, until they can solve fundamental business competition issues with a single prompt, it will not satisfy my AGI. I need Netflix in my Apple TV app, and then it will be AGI. Then it will be AGI. Because it's not a coding problem. It's a business model problem.
Well, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to move the goalposts back where they started the show.
And business model problems are enduring. And Ben Thompson makes the case that there are human conditions, there are human elements that will be enduring, even in a post-software only singularity.
I had some. There was a post I put in from Samuel Hammond over at FAI. He said, I was just asked about my current views on AI takeoff speeds, both in the sense of GDP economic effects and the time gap between AGI and ASI, given I believe we'll get fully automated AI R&D by 2029. He said, here's my response via quick email reply. Re-GDP, I think we'll get a higher trend TFP level growth rate as past general purpose technologies. This will be a new higher growth regime, 5 to 10%, but not hyperbolic exponential growth.
So not with the Elon triple digit.
Yeah.
So
real output will still be bottlenecked by infrastructure, legal, and regulatory regimes, supply chains, human in the loop. We will still see a digi-foom software singularity, but this will feel more disinflationary than anything, i.e. mostly captured in consumer surplus. A lot of knowledge work will be outright automated, but a lot will still remain given human rents, social relationships, celebrity status, and demand-side factors, people liking other people. Science. Yeah,
the big question for me this year, Anthropic is they have created the drop-in software engineer, right, with Claude Code. It's clearly working, and it's changing that industry. Today, their goal for 2026 is clearly like the drop-in replacement. Like, what is the Claude Code for every other industry? And it'll be very interesting to see if we see progress in AI SDRs, because that historically has been steak dinners, wine, relationships, like getting to know people, and it's been a much more human role that hasn't been verifiable in some, you checked in this code, it worked, so you get paid.
Yeah, it's not just hitting the right key strokes in the right order.
Yeah, any good SDR will tell you like it's not actually about the emails that you send. That's just one piece of the puzzle. Anyway,
so he says science and R&D will speed up dramatically, but these also will have delayed GDP effects, given production cycles and the fact that a lot of fast diffusing beneficial science greatly improves quality of life. i.e. GLP-1s, without necessarily boosting GDP. I think this interim TFP growth regime will last until the mid-late 2030s before entering another even higher growth regime, greater than 10%, as robotics matures and reaches scale production volumes. Fully automated factories and robots that can themselves build the factories that build other robots will have much more tangible effects on economic output. This is also when you start to see the Baumol effects start forcing adoption in areas that may otherwise be resistant. E.g., we get RoboCop and robo-nurses because the human cops and nurses become prohibitively expensive in comparison. And he goes on to some other stuff, but thought that was just kind of relevant on from a timeline standpoint when you're trying to understand capital in the 22nd century.
Let me tell you about Gemini 3 Pro, Google's most intelligent model yet. State-of-the-art reasoning, next-level vibe coding, and deep multimodal understanding. To close out what Ben Thompson is talking about here, he says, when he was a child growing up in a small town in Wisconsin, he said, I had some sort of vague sense that there were rich people in the world, but from my perspective, taking my first airplane flight around the age of 10 was a source of great wonder. And it even provided a sense of status. After all, many of my friends had never flown at all. That was the comparison that mattered to me. Social media, or more accurately, user-generated content feeds, which are increasingly not social at all, has completely changed this dynamic. All I or anyone needs to do is open Instagram to see beautiful people on private jets or on beaches or at fancy restaurants living a life that seems dramatically better than one's dull experience in the suburbs or a cramped apartment. Never mind that the means of achieving that insight is a level of technological wealth that would have been incomprehensible to the richest person in the world 50 years ago. To put it another way, what Louis C.K. identified in this clip was the extent to which human happiness is a relative versus an absolute phenomenon. What we care about is how much we have, is not how much we have, but how we compare. That, by extension, is what drives the technological paradox I noted above. More capabilities, more broadly distributed, has tremendously enriched the world on an absolute basis. But the end result, however, has been the dramatic expansion of our comparison set, making us feel more immiserated than ever. If we discover the trillionaire, quadrillionaire aliens, we're all done.
We're all going to be miserable.
It's going to be brutal. It's just like, oh, there's an alien out there with a 2-mile long yacht and a plane that holds 700
Their yacht
people.
is actually an asteroid.
Yeah.
He has so much chrome hearts.
Yeah, and he has just piles of chrome hearts everywhere. He'd be truly.
He never wears the same pair of chrome jeans twice.
Never.
One more post from it's Boaz Barak. He's over at probably mispronouncing his name. He's over at OpenAI. He wrote a post on Less Wrong on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
He said, what's that?
A white pill title, certainly.
Yeah, the title of the essay is "You Will Be Okay." He said, seeing this post, which is another post on Less Wrong, and its comments made me a bit concerned for young people around this community. I thought I would try to write down why I believe most folks who read and write here and are generally smart, caring, and knowledgeable will be okay. I agree that our society often is underprepared for tail risks. As a general planner, you should be worrying about potential catastrophes, even if their probability is small. However, as an individual, if there is a certain probability X of doom that is beyond your control, it is best to focus on the 1x fraction of the probability space that you control rather than constantly worrying about it. A generation of Americans and Russians grew up under a non-trivial probability of total nuclear war, and they still went about their lives. Even when we do have some control over possibility of very bad outcomes, it is best to follow some common sense best practices, but then put that out of your mind. I do not want to engage here in the usual debate of P-doom, but just as it makes absolute sense for companies and societies to worry about it, as long as this probability is bounded away from zero, so it makes sense for individuals to spend most of their time not worrying about it as long as it is bounded away from 1. Even if it is your job to push this probability down, it is best not to spend all of your time worrying about it, both for your mental health and for doing it well. I want to recognize that, doom or not, AI will bring a lot of change very fast. It is quite possible that by some metrics, we will see centuries of progress compressed into decades. My own expectation is that, as we have seen so far, progress will be both continuous and jagged. Both AI capabilities and its diffusion will continue to grow, but at different rates in different domains. I believe that because of this continuous progress, neither AGI nor ASI will be discrete points in time. Rather, just like we call recessions after we are already in them, we will probably decide on the AGI moment retrospectively 6 months or a year after it had already happened. I also believe that because of this jaggedness, humans, and especially smart and caring ones, would be needed for at least several decades, if not more. Let's go. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Again, this you have 2 months to escape the permanent 2 years. It's really even if you believe that, try not to operate on that. Like trying to become rich in 2 months is going to make you do things that are not super productive, not super enduring. And I think that young people just need to get that concept out of their head. And still, you don't need to be don't try to think on a 10, 20, 30-year time horizon, maybe like a legacy career, right? Which is like, I'm going to be a lawyer and I'm going to get a 5% raise every year until I retire. But think on 3-5 year time horizons and don't have this stupid sense of urgency and this sort of insane scarcity mindset. I just don't think you're going to do very good work. He continues, people have many justifiable fears about AI beyond literal doom. I cannot fully imagine the way AI will change the world economically, socially, politically, and physically. However, I expect that, like the Industrial Revolution, even after this change, there will be no consensus if it was good or bad. I was thinking here, people have been kind of asking like, hey, why are we trying to automate everyone's jobs? People are like, I know I was complaining about my email job, but I like that I go and I write some emails, I get paid, and I go home. Do we really need to automate this? Continuing, us human beings have an impressive dynamic range. We can live in the worst conditions and complain about the best conditions. It is possible we will cure diseases and poverty, and yet people will still long for the good old days of the 2020s, where young people had the thrill of fending for themselves before guaranteed income and housing ruined it. Nothing like the thrill. You've had that thrill in the Tenderloin back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
On a YC budget.
I'm just thinking if they really do cure cancer with all this AI, it's so over for the grave diggers. For the morticians, the coroners, anyone in the death economy is just going to be displaced immediately. They're out of a job. They'll have to find something new to do. But I'm optimistic that they will find a new job.
Anyways,
let me tell you about AppLovin. Profitable advertising made easy with Axon.ai. Get access to over 1 billion daily active users and grow your business today. Speaking of DAUs, do you think OpenAI is going to buy Pinterest?
Where is this coming from?
Came from the information. They made a list of predictions. We went through a number of predictions yesterday on the show. This was just one of them, but it seemed like it hit a nerve because people did sort of report on it like it was a rumor or like it was some leaked document. It was just a prediction, but do you think that would make sense? This idea that SORA was sort of supposed to be a social network. It's
revenue in 2025.
Okay.
I just don't know what they're really buying here. But the CEO's name is Bill Ready, so the nominative determinism would be that he's ready to do a deal. So that kind of takes me from 1 to 2%.
And the founder, Ben Silbermann, is and Silver's been mooning, and they have similar names. So maybe Pinterest will moon. This is the level of analysis.
You can only get here, folks.
Let's go through this Rittenhouse research post about OpenAI's business. But first, let me tell you about Graphite. Code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. So Alex Kantrowitz sat down with Sam Altman December 18th, right before the break. He says he had a long, substantive conversation with Sam Altman about OpenAI's strategic position, its plan to build memory into ChatGPT, which is already ongoing, its enterprise play, compute AI devices, and whether AGI is still a useful term. Rittenhouse research breaks it down and says the biggest takeaway from this very good interview was Altman's outline for how OpenAI's financial model could eventually work. OpenAI Enterprise is growing faster than consumer. Companies do not want OpenAI to train on their prompts. So
apparently, right when we said you will be okay, the stream went down.
No way. Yeah.
Okay. Technology is like, nah, actually, you're not.
You're cooked. OpenAI enterprise growth is constrained by lack of compute capacity. Enterprises coming to OpenAI asking for custom APIs and ability to process trillions of tokens, which OpenAI can't provide yet. Rapid growth in inference revenues from these enterprises at a stable to improving gross margin percent will eventually drive inference gross profit dollars large enough to fund OpenAI's training investments. OpenAI could curb training investments today and reduce cash burn, but training investments should translate to more inference revenue down the line. If OpenAI is not seeing overwhelming inference demand, there is flexibility in their $1.4 trillion of commitments. Have to think a good portion of these are earmarked for training runs. 1.4 trillion of commitments takes place over a number of years. We kind of knew this, but it feels like Sam's maybe just signaling to the market that there is more flexibility in the spending commitments than maybe people initially thought. And that was sort of always penciled in because there was a gradient from like, this is a press release, this is a handshake deal, this is still being papered, this is contingent on milestones, or there's some flexibility here. But it kind of got all lumped together, and mentally people were just putting it on OpenAI's balance sheet as liability when in fact there was some flexibility there all along. While the 1.4 trillion of spending commitments is of course absurd and almost surely was intended to position OpenAI as too big to fail, I feel like there's much more logic to their capital planning process than I had previously thought after watching this interview. That's great. What a comeback. I mean, people were really flustered by Sam's appearance on BG2. It feels like his appearance on the Big Technology podcast is sort of a return to form, resetting of the narrative, and he clearly like thought about how to peel back the onion of the 1.4 trillion commitment. So Rittenhouse closes by saying, if you assume they raise $75 billion in one last private round, 25% haircut to the rumored $100 billion, and another $75 billion in an IPO, that's so much money. The model probably pencils out where they have enough capital to bridge until they reach cash flow positive. So they can do it. They can get out, and there is enough. So I don't know. Nathan wasn't a huge fan. He said he found the pod a little too spoon-fed and not very info-dense. Interesting. I don't know. I'll have to give it a listen. But first, I will have to tell you about Linear. Linear is the system for modern software development. Linear is a purpose-built tool for planning and building products.
The product planning tool behind OpenAI.
Oh, yeah.
Should we take it over to Jocko?
Yeah, Jocko Willing.
Jocko,
one of the greatest ever
Jocko, one of the greatest podcast capitalists, maybe, right? Apparently, I didn't even know he had this brand, Origin, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
He has so many products and
made
brands.
gear. Apparently, somebody somebody in the government is a Jocko supporter because they threw Maduro in some Origin looking sharp. Got him out of the Nike Tech.
It's called Origin Built by Freedom hoodie on Maduro.
We got to get Maduro in some TBPN merch.
I think we absolutely do not have to do that.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But yeah,
silence,
really
intern.
Been into these photos. There's a whole bunch of I guess he was transferred and he made the cover of the Wall Street Journal again.
It was interesting.
He says he says he's innocent, so innocent until proven guilty.
I think Marco Rubio was talking about how they don't have to pay out the reward now because they just got him themselves. We, of course,
I feel like we deserve a small slice for promoting the reward.
We did do a promoted post for the capture of Maduro back in Q1 of last year. But yeah, I ultimately think the Delta gets all the credit. Maybe the DEA.
They do. Ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking charges during his arraignment in U.S. federal court in New York City on Monday, defiantly telling a judge that he was still the head of his nation despite being whisked away by U.S. forces over the weekend. I am innocent, he said. I am not guilty. I am a decent man. I am still the president of my country, he said through a Spanish interpreter, adding that he was a prisoner of war and had been captured from his home in Caracas. Maduro's top lieutenant, Delcy Rodriguez, was sworn in as Venezuela's acting president Monday, and Delcy Rodriguez is picked by Maduro, so should be a Maduro ally, but there's been back and forth on how much she'll be cooperating with the United States. Security officers were out in force in Caracas, running checkpoints and patrolling neighborhoods to prevent protests. In Manhattan, Monday's hearing kicked off a nearly unprecedented legal battle over a foreign leader in a U.S. court. The arrest of a head of state presents challenges for both prosecutors and the defense. The two sides could spend years sparring over the legality of Maduro's arrest and charges before he goes to trial. So,
Chat says Maduro uses perplexity because of Ronaldo.
Not because of
somebody's got to ask
F1 sponsorship.
Yeah, maybe the Lewis Hamilton.
The Lewis Hamilton helmet sponsorship. Honestly, massive props to Perplexity. That is a remarkable one because apparently the drivers can sell the stickers on their helmet themselves or something like that. And so when you watch Lewis Hamilton's helmet cam, he has a Perplexity logo right on his helmet that I guess he was able to sell directly, and it didn't go through the team or something, so he gets to keep all of that money or something.
That's a crazy.
It seemed like an interesting.
He had some leverage there. I wonder, the chat is going off saying good, the Jocko line. Yeah. Do you think Maduro is looking in the mirror from the clink?
got captured by U.S. Delta Force? Good.
Good. Wearing his origin.
Arrested on drug trafficking charges? Good. More inspiration to grind harder. Time to lock in. More. It's an opportunity to learn about the U.S. legal system. You're going to learn a lot. Anyway, Fin.ai. The #1 AI agent for customer service. If you want AI to handle customer support, go to fin.ai. We have a surprise guest joining us. Casey Newton from Platformer dug into the whistleblower, the Reddit, the AI food delivery story. We're having him join the show. We're very excited to be joined by Casey. How are you doing, Casey?
Welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Long time, first time. Nice to see you.
Thanks so much for hopping on short notice.
What a moment. So great to have you.
Absolute scoop of the century. Incredible story. I was riveted reading it. Thank you so much for the hard work.
Going to the Scoop Hall of Fame.
Scoop Hall of Fame. I think. I don't even know if this is a scoop. This is more investigative journalism.
This is capital J
you're peeling
journalism.
back Youngin. I don't know. It was great. But how did you see this go out on social media? Were you on Reddit? Like, how did you encounter this story first?
That's exactly right. Believe it or not, I first saw the screenshot on Threads with somebody saying, like, look how evil the food delivery companies are. And, I was like a few days from having to come back and write a column again. And I thought, hey, maybe this turns into a scoop for me. So I was super bummed when the whole thing fell apart. But then it was actually my boyfriend who said people might actually be more interested to know about how the whole thing fell apart. So I think he was right about that.
So what was the process like to actually dig into it? What was your interpretation? Because we read the Reddit post. I saw the screenshot and I was kind of like, and people were going back and forth. Is it AI generated? Blah, blah, blah. It didn't feel AI generated to me, but there were some red flags in there, like being drunk at a library seemed weird. And he said something, there was some other element in there that was like very, very odd to me. I forget exactly what he said, but.
Some people are like pointing out the M dashes that were in there. And, this is one of those where like the moment that everyone knows it's a hoax, everybody knew it was a hoax from the first word. You know what I mean? Like everybody figured it out before I did. But that's fine. The truth is, I didn't figure it out right away. I did think it seemed plausible. Like we both know that Uber and DoorDash have been caught doing some pretty shady things over the years. So I thought it was it was at least worth messaging the guy and seeing what he could tell me about it.
Yeah.
Wait, so did you message him on Reddit?
I did, and I sort of assumed that, by that point, the post had 80,000 upvotes. I thought there's no way I'm ever going to hear back from this guy, but instead he messages me back within 9 minutes, which again, in retrospect, was probably a tell that maybe there was something fishy going on here. But yeah, he was happy to get on Signal. He did sort of strangely only give 1 or 2 word answers. I was expecting him to, be a little bit more verbose based on the post. Again, another red flag in retrospect. But, I've talked to a lot of sources like this over the years, and initially a lot of them are pretty skittish. They don't know you. They don't have any reason to trust you. You kind of have to build up that trust over time. But
we had that with Soham Parikh. He came on and he was just like, "Yeah, I worked for 5 companies at once." Wasn't skittish at all. He just immediately admitted to doing something really bad.
Yeah, it was a very odd moment. Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me in here was he claims that the speed up fee. What is it? Is psychological value add, and so he says it does nothing to speed you up. But then in the next paragraph, he says that in fact they're slowing down all the other orders, which again,
so you are getting
a speed up. So it's not logic. It wasn't logically consistent to me, which was a little odd. That was more of a red flag than any of it's an AI generated text. And I want your reaction to this because if you were a whistleblower and you're writing something and you're worried that your boss is going to be able to clock your writing style, it doesn't seem crazy to me to pass your testimony through ChatGPT and just say, hey, rewrite this like it's, GPT-5. Because then, yes, it will have M dashes. Yes, it will have telltale AI generated things, but the points will stand, the facts will stand, and then you'll be more anonymized. So do you think there's anything to that?
Sure. I mean, this is a lot of what the job is now of being a reporter, particularly in tech, where we're working with really savvy companies. I've reported a lot about Meta. They have former CIA agents over there who are doing, investigations of leaks like this. So we have to spend a lot of our time trying to do OPSEC with our sources. So yeah, if the source said, hey, I might run this through an LLM to sort of take the stink of me off it, I would say go for it.
Yeah. That makes sense. So
So you message this guy, he responds, he starts sending you proof. What kind of proof is he sharing? How did you process that?
Yeah. So the first thing that, I'm obviously want to know his name. He's not comfortable sharing that at first. He says, I could send you an employee badge with my face and name blurred out. And, in this line of work, you kind of just want to keep them talking, right?
Yeah.
See what they'll share. It'll all sort of add up to something over time. So I said, sure, let's see it. He sends over a badge. I don't know if you're able to sort of show it on the screen. I have a new funny story about it. But basically it says that, it's an Uber Eats badge. I learned today from a reporter at NBC News that she had sent him her employee badge, and he appears to have used that as the basis for this and said, transform this image into an Uber Eats badge. Whoa. So I've now seen her original image, and he literally just must have put it in Nano Banana and said, turn this into Uber Eats.
Yeah, that's super interesting because I was looking at the actual image being like, are there any telltale signs? I'm pretty good at clocking little things, but Nano Banana really is good at leaving enough of the original image that you don't get any of those weird
artifacts. I feel like you can prompt things to make it look like an iPhone photo anyways.
Yeah.
Totally. The tell, by the way, I've heard from some former Uber folks today, and the tell that they wanted me to know is that there are not actually Uber Eats badges.
That's the other thing I was going to say. It's Uber. It's not a separate company.
That's funny.
Why would you have a separate?
That is a little bit of a
badge. And then there was some internal document that you got as well. What was up with that?
So this honestly wound up being the most interesting thing to me was that I had said, look, is there anything you could do to corroborate your story? And he was like, well, I'm sort of uncomfortable with that, but let me see what I can do. He disappears for a full day and then comes back the following morning. So this is Sunday morning, and says, does this work? And it's an 18-page document that presents itself as a sort of highly technical overview of how they built the system that sort of takes advantage of drivers' desperation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's your theory on who this person is? What's the point? Because in some ways, I feel like DoorDash was the loser here.
Yeah.
Because I feel like DoorDash has a reputation for just being incredible, ruthless operators, and so people are just oh, this is DoorDash for sure. because, and then they had to come out and defend themselves and say we don't even use this language.
There's probably like some fourth tier, like the fourth player in the ecosystem that we don't even know is like languishing at like $400 million market cap, and they're like, we're trying to be as ruthless as that, man. Like trust us. Like our profit's going to be great next quarter, and we're like, no one thinks it's you. No one. Thinks
I just don't understand the point. Is this a driver?
It could be a short seller. It could be
unhappy.
Disgruntled driver. Did you get any interest or any ideas of what this could be? Like, why are people doing this?
So, I mean, again, like this guy, like his answers are so short that I never really got any sense of motivation. I do think like this was over the holiday break. I do think that there's a chance that this is like a bored teenager, in the basement type of thing. Yeah. But one thing I haven't done, and I would encourage people to do, is like, were there any Polymarket or Kalshi trades around the time of this post dropping? Because it would be crazy to me if somebody was trying to like tank the Uber or DoorDash market cap and make a few bucks.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, they could do that in the public markets or I guess in prediction markets, or maybe because sometimes there's like a dedicated prediction market for this specific thing, like is it real or not, and then they could be trading that because they know it's fake or something. What do you think the actual platform should have done? I mean, DoorDash was they did the founder-led comms, they did the corporate comms, they did a number of things. Do you think they handled it well? Is there something that they should be doing with journalists when something like this happens to like not put their finger on the scale too much, but be open with you? Like, how should they respond?
I think they did the right thing. They both came forward and they just said, like, this is categorically false. You know, the Uber comm said, like, this is a fake document. You know, they really just sort of, like, went all in. They put their credibility on the line. And, often corporate comms are a lot more measured. But with this one, they were just very confident in knowing that this did not come from them. And so there was no reason not to just lead with that. Yeah.
Where else are you seeing interesting, like, AI fake news stories pop up? There's this interesting irony that, I don't know where you stand on like the water issue, but it feels like the electricity issue is something that people should be talking about, and the water issue is maybe way less important, and yet like AI has created this like somewhat fake narrative about itself, and it's like a victim of its, but it's not fully AI generated, but there's just a weird like paradox there where people seem to be distracted.
I mean, to me, the thread that ties all those together is that AI is a superpower for motivated reasoning. Like, if there is something you want to believe, like AI can immediately generate the materials that will help you sell that case to other people. And, we're all just going to kind of have to like upgrade our cognitive hygiene and say, we now know that there are tools that can get me to sort of believe my own eyes when I shouldn't be doing that. And, it's screwing with my mind. That's why I wrote this piece. Like this whole thing is screwing with my mind. Yeah. And I want all of us to be having a conversation about it.
Yeah. There was a very interesting thread just like 2 weeks earlier, maybe, about someone claimed to have delivered a DoorDash delivery, but they just generated an image of the person's front door or something, which I guess they got that image from Street View or something, and that feels like a fraud that would make you like $10 and then you'd get deplatformed. But it is weird that like, Rune was posting that hopefully DoorDash will be the first major company incentivized to build a reliable deepfake detector, very doable, though it will become a Red Queen race, and hopefully license out technology. I never would have picked DoorDash as the company to do. I would have thought YouTube or Instagram, but I don't know. I don't know if you've seen anything else going on in this.
How do you? So do you think that this post, even though it was fake, ends up creating any type of change in terms of how these platforms are operating? Because it seems like right now that you have kind of like, from my view, is like actually like, as these platforms have saturated and everybody uses them, whether they're using them to earn a living or supplement their income, or they're using them as a consumer, everybody seems to be like frustrated with the platforms. Is that just the enduring state of delivery products where people, and maybe it's solved through robotics, where eventually these platforms say like, we heard that you hate working on our platform, and the good news is that you don't have to anymore because we have drones and little toy cars driving around. But how do you think the if anything in the industry changes over the next kind of year?
It's a good question. It's a big question. I think that anytime you feel dependent on a platform, you come to resent it. And people do feel dependent on Uber Eats and DoorDash to bring them their dinner, particularly, if you're living in Silicon Valley and ordering from them like 3 or 4 times a week. I think one reason why the fake resonated was that it was so easy to believe a delivery platform would want to figure out how to pay their drivers less. We've seen them do it in other real ways in the past. And so my hope is that if there's any change here, it is that these companies now realize, look, if you truly build an exploitative system for your drivers, there will be a backlash and people will turn against you. So that would be my hope coming out of it.
Yeah. Odd vibes for sure. What I'm interested to know about your process using AI tools as a journalist. I feel like the hallucination incidence has definitely gone down. Like just in terms of if you just need a fact or you just need to know what's the biggest company in the world, like these are good knowledge retrieval tools, but obviously you have a very high bar for what is factually accurate and what you're printing. What is your process for when you need to maybe not hunt down a specific fact in a story, but you need to corroborate it with, you're just looking up a whole bunch of extra context around how DoorDash operates. Is Uber Eats a wholly owned subsidiary? All of these different things. Like, would there be a badge? Like, how are you using AI tools in your day-to-day?
Absolutely. So I think that I probably use AI tools maybe more than the average reporter. Like, I feel like I understand the ways in which that I can trust them. I'm happy to turn to them to say, hey, give me an overview about this industry that I haven't written about very much. The reason that I'm comfortable is that I'm using bots that cite their sources. And, as a longtime journalist, I know which sources I can trust. So I'm happy to do that. The other thing that I do is I'll sort of go out and, get my own facts for the columns that I'm writing, but then I'll feed them into ChatGPT. I find is really good at this and just say, hey, fact check this for me. It does a really great job of catching my mistakes all the time. That was not true a year ago, by the way. So that's one of the places where I felt the most AI progress is in using these things as fact checkers. Don't let them write the column, but absolutely let them try to catch your mistakes, because in my experience, they will.
Yeah. Do you agree with this idea that for what you do, the writing, the instantiation is not the hard part?
Well, how do you mean that? Because there's a lot of days where I'm on deadline where the writing absolutely is.
Oh, really? Okay. Because so what I've heard is that it's the ideas inside, it's the facts, it's the scoop, it's the information that you spend 7 hours, and then when it's time to go type it up and file, you kind of know the phrasing, you know how to write, and sure you might dictate a little bit, but you're not just going to ChatGPT and say write a column.
No, I'm not. And honestly, even if I wanted to do that, I still think that they're not great at it. Although I will say the most recent version of Claude, when I gave it this test, was good at mimicking my individual style in a way that sort of freaked me out a bit. But I just think that at least my readers, they want to know what I'm thinking. And if I delegate that job to a chatbot, they're probably just not going to want to pay me.
Yeah, I also think people are readers are surprisingly open to the rough edges. They actually don't necessarily need everything to be in the super consistent style guide that you would get from enforcing an LLM on top of everything you published. And if you use parentheses one time and then quotes another time or brackets another, it just doesn't really matter. It actually gives more flavor and texture to the writing, and so people are open to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think readers tend to be really forgiving when you tell them what you're doing, and if they hate something, listen to them. There was a time when I was illustrating my columns with AI generated images because I thought it was cool to have the superpower to do that. Yeah. So many readers were like, please stop doing this. We hate this slop. And I was like, all right, we're in this together. I'm going to stop doing this.
Yeah, that's funny. There's been all sorts of it really depends on the community that you're building. How respected that stuff.
Do you think you'll ever come back to X?
Guys, it's now just a CSAM generator and notification app. What are we doing here? Do you remember how mad people got at Cambridge Analytica?
Oh yeah.
What are we doing here?
Mute all that, and then hang out for the Andre Karpathy post. There's some good stuff.
There's some diamonds in the rough.
The Karpathy posts are great.
Yeah. You gotta really hone it in on the AI researchers who are still hanging out there.
You have to accept that. You have to accept that you're getting engagement farmed. I think Nikita shared earlier that all the highest engagement days of X history have all been in the last week.
Yeah.
Part of that is the Maduro
story,
but still.
Anyway, thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, great to finally have you on.
And
anytime you have a story, give us a shout.
Where can people find you? Give us the landscape of the Casey Newton empire.
Sure. It's very simple. You can just go to platformer.news. You can find this story. And I also co-host the Hard Fork podcast. And why don't you head over to youtube.com/hardfork. Check that out too.
There we go. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Have a great rest of your day.
Cheers.
We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. Let me tell you about Turbo Puffer, serverless vector and full text search, built from first principles on object storage, fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable.
That's right.
Our next guest is Alex Epstein. He's live here in person in the TBP and Ultradome. Alex, welcome.
There he is.
Good to see you again. You brought us books. Thank you.
Yeah, just in case.
Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. You don't have to have these happy dads. That's for later. We have a happy dad investor coming on the show.
Nice.
But for those who don't know you, please introduce yourself. How are you describing yourself these days? Obviously, you're an author. The book is Fossil Future. You can get it wherever books are sold, I'm sure.
Yeah, traditionally I do energy expert and philosopher, because I actually think philosophy is the reason people disagree about energy.
Okay.
And then these days, it's really independent policy advisor, since most of the stuff I do is behind the scenes with government, trying to get them to adopt energy freedom policies.
Interesting. Do you feel like the book touches on the philosophical debate around energy?
It touches would be it.
It centers
would
on.
be an understatement. Yeah, I mean, I think of my life really, or the last 19 years in energy have been basically two things. One is trying, and the one the book addresses is trying to shift the conversation from an anti-human conversation to a pro-human conversation about energy. And actually, I think, did we meet at Hereticon? Is that where
I think so.
We might have met at Hereticon or one of Peter's other things. But I gave an example in my talk there that I think is the easiest way to see that we have an anti-human way of thinking about energy, which is I'll ask people, hey, which of the following words would you use to describe our current relationship to climate? So are we in a climate crisis? Do we have a climate problem? Do we have a climate non-problem? Or do we have a climate renaissance? And, you know, that audience is going to be more, it might even consider renaissance, but most people won't, right? Most people will say crisis or problem. And then the extreme is non-problem. But then I share the data which you can actually look at the rate of deaths from climate disasters, such as storms and floods, extreme temperatures, et cetera. And it's very clear cut. And we have this just incredibly dramatic 98% decline in those deaths.
Which would imply a renaissance?
Which would imply renaissance.
Oh, and that's over like 100 years?
That's over the last 100 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you go back further, it's even even more. And then if you look at the data in terms of
there
damages,
was something, even with the California wildfires a year ago, I think there was something like 30 deaths, which was the most deaths in a fire in recorded history in California, from what I remember.
Yeah, and I mean, wildfires is actually, I was going to mention the economic piece of it. Like, even economically, if you adjust for GDP growth, the damages are flat. So you would say it has to be a renaissance, right? I mean, we're much less threatened from climate than ever. And if you think about that in fossil fuels, and you think for a minute or two, you think, well, that actually might have to do positively with fossil fuels, because fossil fuels power the irrigation systems that alleviate drought. Drought is actually the #1 climate killer historically. They obviously give us heating and air conditioning to deal with extreme temperatures, and even abnormal temperatures, and cold is by far the bigger killer than heat. And we have all kinds of sturdy infrastructure and storm warning systems. So it's this really interesting phenomenon where what actually happened is, as I put it, fossil fuels didn't take a safe climate and make it dangerous. They took a dangerous climate and made it safe. But the interesting question in terms of philosophically is, why is it that so many people say we're in a climate crisis, even though from a climate livability perspective or a pro-human perspective, we're in a climate renaissance? And I'm telegraphing it a bit, which is that they're not looking at it from a pro-human moral perspective, they're looking at it from an anti-human moral perspective. But specifically the perspective that our goal should be to reduce or eliminate our impact, which is the idea of being green.
Yeah, is there a factor here of just like media awareness, like the fact that, you know, in times of old, you wouldn't, if there was a fire like the Palisades fire, you wouldn't see that everywhere for weeks on end, but now there's much more visibility. So I hear about an earthquake over there or a storm over there, and so it feels like there's more happening.
Well, that's a mechanism
bias.
That people can use, but of course they could use the opposite mechanism. I mean, they could say, and this would happen all the time, like, look at this minor climate problem that 100 years ago would have been a total disaster. Like, compare this to the Galveston storm 100 years ago. So my conclusion is the people leading the charge who think it's a climate crisis, like, there are a lot of people who are just ignorant of these facts, but the people who know these facts, who know that we're in a renaissance from a climate livability perspective, they're evaluating the state of the climate not by how good it is for humans, but by how little impact we've had. So their goal is an Earth with minimal human impact. And by that standard, we are in a climate crisis because we have had some impact. Of course. And so my view is, if our overall impact is positive for humans, that's a good thing. Their view is, if there's more impact, that's a bad thing. And this illustrates that this is overwhelmingly a philosophical disagreement. So whether you view today, if once you know the facts about climate livability, whether you view it as a climate renaissance or a climate crisis, that's not based on science. Nobody has disputed these facts. I mean, New York Times tried, everyone tried, nobody has successfully. Vivek really popularized this when he ran for president, because he learned this in Fossil Future. And everyone tried to refute him and nobody could do it. So it's only that you have a different, what I call in philosophy, or what we call in philosophy, standard of evaluation. You're looking at the same facts, but you have a different measuring stick. And my basic contention is, if you look at fossil fuels in a balanced way from what I call a human flourishing perspective, the benefits are obviously far, far greater than the negatives, including climate-wise. But that's why, like, I have the moral case for fossil fuels in Fossil Future, which is about why global human flourishing requires more fossil fuels. But it's the number one thing I'm doing is I'm just changing the yardstick by which we're measuring it, and I'm using that very consistently.
Do you think AI is taking the wind out of the climate crisis sails?
Yes.
In the sense that the climate crisis was a powerful story for the media industrial complex, because let's say you have a slow news day or week, the TV can just show a big chart on the screen of a bunch of counties and they're all red, and it looks really bad just because the way the graphic design is done. And now we have this like worldwide sort of systemic fear of this impending. I feel like that.
So you mean people are talking about AI doom, not climate doom anymore.
We're just using way more energy. We need new gas turbines. But then there's also the media story of just giving this sort of like media. The media industrial complex loves a sense of impending doom.
Like Eliezer Yudikowsky is more popular than like Al Gore as of yesterday or as of last year.
I think
that content is getting much
AI
more
doom is just a bigger meteor story.
Right now it's much more the energy side.
It's
much more
coming
the
back.
energy side. But the doom side really concerns me, and AI is actually the only issue I'm considering getting into in terms of mastering it and mastering how to communicate it, just because I feel like nobody has really mastered it from the pro-human, pro-technology side. And it's hard to do.
No, I said this yesterday. I mean, the tech industry right now suffers because nobody can speak into a let's say like the Super Bowl demographic. If a tech founder went and talked at the Super Bowl during the halftime show, and they were like, "We're going to automate all the jobs," everyone would be like, "Boo!" Boo. I'll hit the boo button. You can't hear. But like, boo! Like, this guy sucks. Get him out of here. And so it's been very difficult. And people talk about UBI and this sort of post-scarcity element. If you can just bring a bunch of robots online. But nobody, especially at the labs, I feel like I don't even think this idea of like a personal tutor or personal expert in your pocket is really, I don't think people appreciate it that much, even though the labs talk about it. So finding the pro-human narrative, I think, is super important. It's something that's like critical to the industry, because I think we're in the beginnings of like the second real tech lash. You had the sort of like social media tech lash era. Now we're in the AI tech lash era. And it's only going to get worse if we just keep promising the world, hey, we're going to automate your job away. And
you're motivating me to, this is the tension in my life right now, because I've been working in energy for a long time, and we've gotten to this point where the opportunity, like a lot of the debate has shifted, and I've had some role in that, but also the politics have shifted where I and others have never had more opportunity to actually change the policy for the better. But then AI.
You're kind of getting shiny objects.
Well, I'm not deterred yet, but but also I need to innovate in AI actually for what I'm trying to do in energy, and there's anyway. So it's tempting, but I would just say if anyone here is watching who thinks that you might be able to be this, I would much prefer to help you and teach you what I've learned in energy and apply it to AI than do it myself. It would be more of a matter of, like, I got plenty to do in energy, but there
Finding
needs
the
to
right
be
student.
somebody doing this. So alex@alexepstein.com, just send me an email.
Can you set the table for me on like the state of the American energy industry? Because I grew up at a time when the big oil companies were the biggest companies in the world. ExxonMobil was the largest company in the world. And then now we live in the era of big tech. And I'm wondering if the big oil companies are still well run. Like, they don't feel founder led. They don't feel like they're in founder mode. I don't know the names of people who are running large energy companies. I can't name
you don't know
Elon Musk of
there's
energy,
not
where I can name
kids at elite universities are not like
clamoring,
juniors being
there.
like, I'm going to work in oil. And
I'm older than you guys, and I remember because I was at one of the top math science high schools in the country, and then I was at Duke, and I just remember thinking later, because I myself had no interest in fossil fuels at the time and a little bit of an aversion, I'm like, looking back, none of those brilliant people wanted to do this. Like, it wasn't aspirational. So interestingly,
but is it an industry where the product has such insane product market fit that you don't need the most elite executives and operators?
You get some, but so here's the thing: is I don't think oil and gas has attracted overall the best of the best. There are definitely some brilliant people. The bad news is that electricity is much, much worse.
Okay, explain that.
So the thing about oil and gas is, in a lot of this, the two variables are going to be what's the degree of freedom in the culture or in the political system for achievement, because that's going to determine largely the economic upside. And then there's the issue of the culture. So with the culture, obviously, there's been huge hostility toward oil and gas, and of course coal as well. And that deters a lot of people early from even wanting to go in. The positive of oil and gas is that it's within the energy industry, it's by far freer than many, many other parts of the energy industry. If you look at, say, particularly in Texas, you look at where the Permian Basin dominates, you can get a permit to drill in the Permian in a few days. Now, if it's the Texas Permian, if it's the New Mexico Permian on federal lands, much different story. You know, that stack of paper is probably 10 times higher. But there's a lot of oil and gas doesn't involve federal permitting, which I hope we talk about, because we're trying to fix that at the moment. So what that means that you can act a lot more quickly on good ideas, which attracts good people. Now, if we shift to the electricity sector,
real quick. I had last year. I was at kind of a VC founder dinner, and one of the founders there had some company, I think in advertising, but he had a piece of land in California that he had been drilling for oil on.
Really?
He just had like a small like kind of lifestyle business.
That's crazy.
But he ultimately there was some new regulation that was getting passed, and I think that basically put him out of business.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I mean, I admire all these people in California, to some extent Colorado, and it's hard. I actually refuse to invest in energy just because I advise politicians, and it creates conflicts of interest. But I just say, as a hypothetical investor,
we not in a post-conflict era?
No, I mean, I'm very extreme about conflict avoidance.
I'm kidding. I appreciate that.
But it's California is really hard. I mean, you can of course imagine high risk, high reward things, but it's just, you look at the governor
and you would think
down.
we import so much oil, wouldn't we want to produce some? And
yes, and there's just, I mean, there's a bit
way.
of a shift there, just as there is in New York and Massachusetts. They're a little bit more open. But it's bad. But if we take the power sector, I mean, first of all, we're talking about something that is institutionalized as a monopoly in the first place. And then, not to go into too much detail about the power sector, but we started quote unquote deregulation, which is just a new and in many ways worse form of regulation. We started that a couple decades ago. And broadly speaking, there are two really big types of electricity systems. One is a traditional utility model where the utility does everything. So they have the generation, what's called the transmission, so the longer distance travel, and then the distribution, which is the more local stuff. So in that, you can imagine that doesn't tend to attract the best people because, like a lot of monopoly type things, like a lot of the military stuff, it's a cost plus model. So, and you get paid for spending more money. You get paid for incurring more cost. But then, as bad as that is, the market model is a mess, in part because they allowed, once intermittent solar and wind came on, they allowed that to be treated as a reliable power source when it's not, in fact, a reliable power source. Now, it has utility, but it's primarily a fuel-saving device. So people think like, oh, you hate solar, it's not about that. It's just, what does it functionally do? What it functionally does, in the vast majority of cases, is it saves you fuel on a reliable power source. Because most of what we need in electricity is we need on-demand electricity. And with a solar panel or wind turbine, you can't get on-demand electricity. It's both the existence and the amount is weather dependent. So if there are situations such as, say, China with coal, where they have a lot of coal power and they need enough coal power, they need that much capacity to meet their peak demand. But if you have a bunch of solar, and particularly if they overbuilt a bunch of solar that they were trying to sell to the rest of the world and it didn't work as well as they thought, you can have basically Kohler, right? Coal plus solar, where every time the sun shines, to what extent the sun shines, you're saving fuel. And depending on your fuel cost, that can be efficient.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, it tends to be efficient at lower levels versus higher levels. But so the electricity markets got screwed up for many reasons, but that was the biggest one, where if you allow solar and wind to compete as reliable sources, it screws up everything. And in particular, it screws up the economics of the reliable sources. Because if it's a monopoly and one person owns everything, you can decide, hey, I'm going to pay this much for solar for fuel savings, and you can make it work when it works. But if you have a quote market where all the generators are competing independently, and you allow solar to be its own independent generator whenever it's available, that natural gas plant doesn't benefit from the fuel savings. It loses operating revenue. And so this is what we did to all the reliable power plants on the grid, is we subsidized the hell out of solar and wind, spammed the grid with this fuel-saving infrastructure, but on the power markets, it doesn't benefit them. So it's screwed up. So this gets technical, but you can imagine that a lot of the people who've succeeded in this field are, there can be a scam element. You have some smart traders, but their efforts are not going to a productive thing. So it's both talent level issues with the utilities, but then you even have some smart people on the markets, but their intelligence isn't being well directed because it actually can screw up the grid. And then the culture has pushed so many people into the green space, where the relative opportunity was much less than in fossil fuels and in nuclear if you had a proper market. So it's really bad
You mentioned
situation.
Nuclear. Get us up to speed on how you're thinking about nuclear these days. It feels like there's incredible energy. Both the government just announced a $2.7 billion grant yesterday, and it feels like there's nuclear startups for the first time in my lifetime getting funded.
I learned yesterday that we get enriched uranium from Russia.
Or we did. Hopefully not.
Used to.
Yeah, there are other people who can do it too.
It's rare.
So I know you wrote that really interesting essay yesterday on energy production. And I think in your space there's many forms of energy production, but the main thing is going to be electricity production. And specifically, it's what's called dispatchable or reliable electricity production. So on demand. We could talk about how AI fits into that. But in general, I think there are four things that have screwed that up. And one is the near criminalization of nuclear power. The issue with that is that's a hard one to unwind quickly. So if you look at, there's this attempt at a nuclear renaissance, and I'm working as hard as anyone to try to make that happen. But we're not yet having any kind of rapid build of new nuclear infrastructure. Since the establishment of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in 1975, we only started building any reactors we only started conceiving and completing reactors in 2023 for the Vogtle plants in South Carolina. And
when did they actually, you're saying they didn't?
There was nothing that went from conception to completion from 1975.
So they got completed in 2023.
2023, but with 10x cost overruns. So we have now, there was already some progress before this administration. We had what's called the Advance Act, which was a significant improvement, tried to redirect the NRC. They're definitely much better people at the NRC now. So they're headed in a much, much better direction. Congress, both Republicans and Democrats are aligned. But we're just talking about something that we've lost arguably 50 years of potential progress, because we had something in the late 60s where nuclear was, by many estimates, the cheapest form of electricity, and the safest in terms of reliable electricity. It was already true with that technology, and we somehow
cheapest,
managed.
safest, cleanest.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
So
the
yeah,
cleanest.
I mean, the
So we
talking point
managed
that I hear about the NRC is that we haven't approved any new nuclear reactor designs, but we also haven't just been copy pasting the ones that work.
Right.
So it's like twofold problems.
And the nuclear industry is fascinating in terms of communication, because their usual thing is just, we have to change everyone's opinion about perception about nuclear, and then we can do stuff. And
Yeah.
which I think that the public is more pro-nuclear than they think, even historically.
Okay.
Right now it is. I think what we have to do what you're looking at, which is say, wait a second, we could already produce these large nuclear plants and get this incredible result. Why don't we fix that problem first? Because we actually know how to do these things. There are all these exciting companies doing new things.
Yeah.
But part of the reason is these communications people have an aversion toward traditional nuclear because it has these negative associations. But you have to kill those associations. You have to kill the idea that this was uniquely dangerous. No, it was uniquely safe.
Yeah.
Like Chernobyl has nothing to do with what we would ever do in the United States. That was like a half weapon, half reactor. And even that damage doesn't compare to the damage done by a lot of other things in the Soviet Union. I mean, as one economist put it, Soviet toasters probably did more damage
That's crazy.
than Chernobyl.
That's amazing.
I don't know if that's a stat, but that's...
No.
So
it's well
nuclear,
taken.
it's like what we need to do is we need to fix the political stuff as quickly as possible. And we're getting some funding there, but we have to recognize that the overall problem is just a political restriction problem.
Yeah.
So that is a very exciting thing to do, but it is the least near term of the four things. So the other things are, I mentioned, the electricity markets are screwed up.
Okay.
That's part of a broader set of preferences for solar and wind, or for intermittent energy, let's just say. And the other piece of that, which I was involved in and has largely been fixed, but not totally, is the subsidization of intermittent energy. So that was in the Big Beautiful Bill. That was a lot of what I spent 2025 on, is killing trying to help people who wanted to kill as many as possible. So we've got the nuclear criminalization. We've got the preferences for intermittent energy. The biggest thing by far is we have the prohibitions on reliable reliable fossil fuel energy. And you'll hear about things like the endangerment finding. There was the Biden Clean Power Plan 2.0 that basically made it illegal for existing coal plants to function, for any new natural gas plants to be built past a certain date. So, and then we have the general permitting problem, which is anti-development permitting. So you just imagine we had all of these factors restricting the supply of electricity. And then we had the previous administration and others artificially increasing demand through electrification, right? Forced electrification, so trying to shut off natural gas in homes, trying to force us to use EVs, which I'm totally in favor of people using freely, but we pay over $50,000 per EV. Like taxpayers pay over
$7,500.
No. That's just one small part of it. We could go into all the different subsidies, because there's a lot of fuel economy trading
deeper in the supply
where
chain.
you basically get...
It's wild too, because you get the subsidy and then the consumer buys a vehicle for $60,000 and it's worth half that in like 12 months.
Yeah, but it's also the way the fuel economy things work at the federal level and the California level. A lot of what they do is they set the fuel economy standards impossibly high for regular vehicles, and then they give EVs this ridiculously high fuel economy score.
Sure.
And so everyone, Tesla on down, just makes huge amounts of money trading their emissions credits.
Oh, got it. And that's where, per vehicle.
By the way, this is something the current administration has been doing a good job at in terms of the administration. Executive actions try and undo a lot of these things, but you want as many undone congressionally. So again, we have these factors of artificially restricting supply, artificially increasing demand, and then of course the one you guys are focused on is the organic increase in demand via AI. So what I'm trying to fix is just stop restricting supply.
How do you predict that this feels like, rising energy costs have always been a political issue. They're going to be like at the forefront, I think, of a lot of debates going forward. Politicians, I imagine, are going to try to score points by, beating back data center development just because they know their constituents are going to cheer it on. How are you advising all these different players at the center of these debates on how to knowing that energy usage is going to go up dramatically with data centers, one way or another? What is how do we kind of thread the needle?
So there's what to advocate policy-wise and what to advocate messaging-wise. So let's start with messaging-wise. So one thing is to pin the recent and baked-in rises on the proper culprits. So there's an attempt to pin it on reducing subsidies. So it's in particular, I try not to be political about this, but there's this idea of Republicans reduce subsidies, therefore that's why your electricity bills go up. The timing doesn't even work on these things. The logic is actually the opposite. The subsidies, by depriving, one of the things they've done is they've deprived the reliable power plants of capital. They've had less reliable power. And so what happens is you have shortfalls in supply relative demand, and that puts the market prices up. In particular, what's called capacity markets, which you see particularly in regions like PJM, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, that whole region, like those prices go up. So there's just all this false narrative. So what people need to recognize is the reason prices are going up is because of prohibitions on reliable power and preferences for unreliable power, and then artificial forced electrification. Like they need to understand that. The data centers, one thing people need to understand is new demand does not inherently increase electricity prices. In fact, usually what it does is it decreases electricity prices because you have relatively the same amount of capital spending spread out over more different entities. So you'll have different, Burgum, Interior Secretary, former governor, like he and Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy, have been pointing out, hey, North Dakota is looking really good price-wise, and they've had massive increases in data centers.
Because they've been investing more in energy?
Well, no, because the data centers, there's on any grid, you have the peak usage, and then you have the regular usage, and you very rarely hit peak. So when you have more demand, you're actually spreading out the costs among more. So the one of the questions with AI that's interesting is, what's the flexibility of the demand profile going to be? Because the more flexible it is, the less you need to increase the peak, which is good to increase the peak, but that's the most expensive thing to do. The more you can use off peak, the more you're actually lowering prices.
Yeah. And this is already happening a little bit, where sometimes if you prompt an image generator, it will in the middle of the day, it'll go across the world, and it'll use it where it's dark there in the middle of the night because there's maybe more energy or something, or like away from peak load. Yeah. What do you think about my question of energy production growth in America 2026? Are we going to see a break in the curve? Are we already seeing a break in the curve? Is this even the right question to be asking about just energy progress in America over the next few years?
I mean, it's a good measure of progress, particularly industrial progress, to look at energy production in general in a country, and the fact that we've had flat electricity usage. Yeah. And if you look at ours versus China's, I think we're at about 1/5 their industrial electricity usage. So those are really bad signs. So it's a sign that you're being less productive than you can, and often that you're offshoring things because you have such a restrictive anti-development environment. With the electricity thing, it's one of these things where I'm trying to create the future, so I try not, I'm trying to make the future happen.
Yes. But you're rooting for 5% growth this year.
Well, I'm rooting for the enablement of the capacity. And the nice thing is you have a lot of smart people in the administration who are really interested in this problem. So that's a good thing at the margins, because then you can make things happen more quickly. You have private industry is very focused on this because of AI, whereas they haven't been before. So you're getting a lot of ingenuity. And it's going to be really interesting to see. There's going to be a lot of things at the margins, and we'll see how they add up. I mean, one thing is we're using very small oil plants, natural gas plants. They're talking about using the backup generators in Walmart on the grid. Like, there's going to be these interesting questions, and we have a new class of smart people who are now being added, whose now focus is on generating more dispatchable power.
I love that.
There's lots of things you can do. I mean, there's interesting things you can do with batteries. Like I'm in agreement on Elon with, like, you can build batteries and you can charge them off peak. People think you need solar and wind to go with batteries, but actually the easiest way to deal with batteries, and the way most batteries get charged today, is you have a reliable source of energy and you charge it off peak. Right? You can run your nuclear power plant at night and charge batteries, and then for a few hours you'll have those batteries to meet peak demand. Sure. You can also what's called uprate natural gas plants. So a lot of the natural gas plants in the country were built a generation or two ago, and they might get 30% less capacity than a new natural gas plant. But you can, without dealing with the fundamental supply chain issues in many cases, you can actually add capacity to hundreds and hundreds of existing gas plants. So there's a lot of industrial potential. There's a friendly administration. What we have fundamentally, though, is ultimately the administration doesn't properly make any law. It enforces the law. It administers the law. And so what we need as much as possible is to do things congressionally. So subsidies were one piece of it. The thing right now that I'm very focused on is permitting reform. And that is because it's impossible to get permits for things. So it's so difficult. And I don't know how much time we have, but there's a lot that needs to be fixed, and it's actually hanging by a thread right now.
We have a lot of time because you're our new energy correspondent.
Yes,
but
we'll have to have you back.
We can't let you leave without talking about the actions in Venezuela, how that's impacting kind of global energy markets. Everybody on X has their own theory of why we did it and all that stuff, but let's talk about realities of like how this can impact just different geopolitical dynamics.
All right, let me just say one thing to the audience, because one reason I was excited about coming here is you've got a group of people that's very engaged and I think interested in these issues, but that I don't always get to speak to. And I just posted this on X, but I want people to know, like, if you find this exciting, we're hiring. And I just put out, for one of my groups, Energy Freedom Fund, which is the only principled pro-freedom lobbying group in the world, basically. We are, $50,000 referral bonus if you can find anybody. So and we have an assessment. There's an assessment that will tell us whether you can do it or not. So it's 2 hours. So if people are up for it, it's worth doing. If you do a decent job at all, we'll at least give you good feedback. But that's my limiter right now in fixing these problems is we have enough money, fortunately, but we have a talent deficit. So this is one reason I wanted to come on today. So let's talk about Venezuela. I mean, Venezuela, I try to be a master of energy and not pretend to be a master of other things. So obviously many aspects of the Venezuela situation are beyond energy. I think there's two really interesting things about this that are important. So one is that this is not making a big difference to global oil markets in the near future. So we're talking about something where Venezuela is kind of like Venezuelan oil in some ways is like nuclear power, whereas it used to be good and it should have gotten better. But you're talking about going
it's all
from
potential.
Yeah, well, it's it was once, I think its peak was 3.5 million barrels a day. So right now we're at about 102 million barrels a day, and by the barrel is 42 gallons. So it's about 500 million gallons or so of oil produced a day. And 1% of that right now, a little less than 1%, is coming from Venezuela. And both because of how dilapidated so much of the industry is, how much incompetence there is, and also because physically the crude they use in terms of heavy crude is more difficult to process than other things. It's not like this is just you're going to go from 1 to 3 anytime soon. So there's a lot of investment. This is not any kind of slam dunk. By the way, Canada has in some ways better oil. It's a lot for your country. I think we're totally underutilizing Canada as a trading partner. So it's an interesting. I think economically near term, it's not super interesting. It's not as exciting as people think. It's probably most exciting for oil field services. If you invest a bunch of money and send a bunch of people down there, that benefits Halliburton and Schlumberger and that kind of thing. Also benefits potentially Gulf Coast refineries who are very good at this kind of crude. Then they don't need to get it from Canada, so then it comparatively hurts Canadian people. So there's that whole thing. The thing I find most interesting, though, is that for the first time that I can ever remember, a pet issue of mine is now in the public, or this pet issue is in the public, which is that all of these oil countries stole our oil. Like this is, I'm really, now I don't always agree with exactly how the administration is saying it, but it's very important. And read the book, The Prize is really good in this regard by Daniel Yergin. He's not as judgmental as I am about this. He probably doesn't have as negative a judgment, but you just look in country after country, what happened was they had some, random mild dictator type person or king or, wasn't the most evil person in the world, but they made a very clear deal with the West. So you take Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia couldn't even find water before we came there, before the West and particularly the U.S. Came there and Standard Oil, right? And they couldn't find water. That was their big problem at the time. And then we, of course, make it possible. We get what's called these concessions. So we're getting a kind of right. And what happens is just they keep pulling back on these things. And because of cultural and political forces at the time, nobody stands up to them. So they keep stealing more and more. And then they just totally nationalize it. They declare it their national heritage. They've totally broken the agreement. And then they use this to fund some of the worst dictatorial behavior in the world. So I think it's very, very important that people are now saying explicitly, hey, we had rights to that oil. and it's been stolen, and there's some
because
sort
this
of
has been
reparations.
memed to no end over the last few days, which is, when people see Trump say that's our oil or something to that effect, people normally dunk on it because they're like, well, how could that possibly be the case? We don't own, this is not the
Our
51st
land.
state, it's not our land.
Right.
But you're pushing back and saying, no, we actually did originally have.
Yeah, I mean, it's not we; it's specific companies, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be clear on it's not necessarily it's not the government's thing, but it is an interesting. It's a real case of reparations because the seizures happened not too long ago. I mean, you're talking about a lot of them culminated in the 70s and then happened. You're talking about the 40s, maybe through the 70s and 80s, and then even once they nationalize it, they screw over companies in different kinds of ways. So I think this is a really good thing, but it needs to be talked about in a very precise way. One thing that Trump will do that I think is wrong is like he'll have sort of a feeling of like, I want all these other countries' resources. So like, I'm so excited about Greenland and even making Canada the 51st state and then talking about Ukraine in certain ways. And I think you're on really firm ground when somebody actually broke contracts with your companies. There's a difference between like, oh, I'm really excited, like having the mentality that others have.
It would be nice to have access to that versus there was a time when there was a contract in place.
And access, we can access them in a very real way by trading with them. So with Canada, we have enormous opportunity that I think we're squandering right now. I think we should be, there's a lot, I mean, Ukraine is a whole other issue, but I think we should be supporting Ukraine a lot more. So yeah, but it is a really interesting narrative shift that is a good thing.
Well, thank you for getting us up to speed. We have to jump to our next guest.
Back on
But we'd love to have you back on the show.
Anytime.
This was fantastic. Thank you so much. The book is Fossil Future. The author is Alex Epstein.
Go
Thank
get
you
that job.
so
Do the
much
assessment.
for stopping by. Before we bring in our next guest, let me tell you about public.com. Investing for those who take it seriously. They got stocks, options, bonds, crypto, treasuries, and more, all with great customer service. Our next guest is the founder of Ring at Amazon. Jamie Siminoff is at CES. We're going to have him break down how CES is going. Jamie, sorry for keeping you waiting. Thanks so much for taking the time to jump on the show. It's great to meet you. How are you doing?
Doing great.
I would love to hear, how is CES? I imagine you've been going a long time. I've actually never been. It feels like a playground for me. I'd love to go sometime. But how is it this year? How does it compare to other years? What are you introducing there?
It's pretty fun. Overall, CES pretty fun. I think this is like my 15th or 17th year or something like that. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I started. I started. Building the booth myself and driving in here in a U-Haul truck. And I've graduated now to a booth that's built by professionals.
Wait, how do you build the first booth? Is this like plywood, or are you
with
assembling
scraps in a cave?
Scraps in a cave.
I actually took the Shark Tank set. I was on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And I took the Shark Tank set and we put it in a U-Haul truck, brought it to CES. It turns out that you can't use power tools as a non-union person at CES.
Yeah.
And so we were violently threatened. I couldn't afford the union labor. So I'm like, guys, you're gonna have to pull me out of here in handcuffs. I have to get this booth done.
That's
crazy.
And
so we would literally build the booth, and it got bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And now we've graduated.
Okay, tell me the story of Shark Tank, and I want to know if you could play it back with everything you know now. Do you think you could have convinced the sharks to invest?
With everything I know now, sure, I would have told them I'm going to build the world's largest home security company and sell it for $1 billion. Do you want to invest?
But you could have told them that. You think they would have gone for that?
I should have just told them that. Don't worry, I'll let you invest in a $7 million valuation. It's going to sell for $1 billion. You're totally fine.
Yeah, one of the greatest misses.
But it is to be fair to them at the time, I didn't know what it was going to do. It was we were Doorbot, we were figuring it out. A lot of startups and things, we didn't necessarily pivot, but we pivoted inside of our own sort of mission many times to get to where we are today.
Yeah, and how do you describe the scope of the company? I mean, you teased it. You said it's the world's largest home security company. But what's the shape of that? What's the footprint? What does your organization look like? Take me through sort of a day in life.
Yeah, so I mean, because of Amazon, there's some things we reported. So we're over 100 million cameras out there, profitable business.
Hit that gong. Hit that app-loving gong, John.
There we go.
There we go. It's a camera shaking hit, as
Love
usual.
it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, did you ever think you'd be at that scale, or what was the initial introduction?
No, I remember when I launched this thing, Nest, I think when Nest sold to Google, it was reported, I don't know if it's true, but they were doing like 30,000 like units either a month or a quarter.
Sure.
And I remember thinking to myself, man, like if I ever got to 30,000, like, it's like, if I ever got that big, holy, and we're now, I mean, it's like, literally 100 million plus cameras out there, global. For me, the mission to make neighborhoods safer, the impact we've had there has been substantial. And that's, I truly am proud of, like, I really try to focus on those things, and then the output, let it happen. Let people reward us for purchasing a camera because they think it's going to make their home or neighborhood safer.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. Can you take me through sort of how you are thinking about the product suite, the feature sets, like how you're positioning the overall portfolio, and then some of the announcements today?
Yeah, so I mean, from a macro side, I look at AI as IA. So we're the intelligent assistant. And so our job is now where, when I launched Ring, a motion alert was like mind blowing. Like, dude, you got a motion alert from your front door to your phone? Like, that's crazy. Now you hear them too often. And so our job is to use AI to basically curate for you as an individual, unique to your home, what you want to see, when you should be interacting with it, and really take down the number of alerts and increase the efficacy of them. So that's like from a macro, that's what we're doing.
How are you how are you thinking about the trade-off of like cloud-based artificial intelligence, obviously processing a ton of video constantly? That feels like something that needs to be done on a server. At the same time, there's privacy, so people might want it done on device, but that creates power constraints and all sorts of things. Also, I feel like being at Amazon is great because I feel like most people trust Amazon to be secure because AWS and all this stuff. But how have you tussled with like where the AI lives and the benefits and costs and trade-offs there?
So for us, it's layers. You try to determine it's a human or emotion event at the camera level, so you're not just flooding. To your point, like you're not flooding the AI or the servers, the cloud with the stuff because it's very expensive. I mean, it's using a lot of power, using a lot of processing. So it's like trying to have like these different layers. But where we like to end is the cloud. We like to have the cloud as the place that's doing the final processing. AI is moving so fast that in our area, I think anything you put at the edge is going to age like fish on a hot day. And so we're trying to be very careful not to put too much intelligence at the edge, because that intelligence, it decays so quickly that by the time you actually ship that product, it's maybe no longer intelligent. And I want my team to be able to write on and build code and put out features that are literally the best in the world at that moment. And the cloud really is the only place to do it right now for that final sort of piece.
Where are you most excited for various models to improve? Like, do we need capability advancement, or do you feel like there's a capability overhang where there's enough product that it's more about implementation?
It's such a good question, because there's so many like places where we're putting models and different models and custom models, and this like there's so much coming out. But I would say where you're going with it, I think we are starting to now. I think that the AI is ahead of what we can sort of chew and sort of digest our food with. I think it's actually getting farther along than we can put the features around it, the UI around it, and have customers understand it. So I do think it's actually starting to get almost faster than we are in that. And it's up to us like now to try to figure out like how to get, because again, our customers don't buy technology. They buy something that makes their home feel safer, makes their home better, like gives them more attachment to their home. They're not buying the best AI. They're buying the best service for their home. And so it's our job to sort of not sell them technology, but sell them obviously technology in the background, but sell them the features and the services. So, but I do think I have not been able to find lately, and it's amazing how quickly this is happening. Every idea I have, it's like the AI is ahead of the idea. Whereas before, the team would be like, well, it's not really there yet. You can't do that. Like, you don't understand. And now it seems like it's really just going so much faster than even I can sort of think.
Is that re-engaging you as a leader? I mean, it's been over a decade. I feel like there's a lot of times when post-acquisition, you're at a large company, it can be exhausting. Maybe you want to go fish all day or something. I don't know if you fish, but the AI moment, it feels like it's been re-engaging a lot of business leaders. Have you had that effect over the last year?
Oh, totally. There's so much we can do. We can build it so fast, get it out. I mean, we launched today. I live in Pacific Palisades, so I live in the fire zone.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, as you know, like it was a crazy thing.
Yeah.
So I was able to go from living there, seeing what happened there.
Yeah.
And then building a feature that we launched today, which I think will hopefully be a way to assist in future fires, which we did with Watch Duty.
Sure.
Where now you'll get an alert as a Ring customer if you're in a fire zone. We had over 10,000 cameras in the Palisades area.
Yeah.
And so now you would get an alert that says, like, would you like to join into Watch Duty and give them sort of data? And now we'll have an accurate up-to-the-minute map from AI looking for embers, looking for smoke, and seeing where the fire is jumping. And so we can give real-time information to everyone, and hopefully
I want to talk a little bit kind of a little bit about kind of some more sci-fi stuff. I'm curious to kind of get your opinion on. So John and I, John's in Pasadena, I'm in Malibu. So this time last year, John, I didn't have electricity, cell service, anything like that.
Also, you live in a house that previously burned down.
My house burned down in 2018, was fully rebuilt, and 6 months after I bought it, I was like, oh, it's
there's a reason it burned down.
No, but it burned down because like an ember had floated from a faraway fire, and embers floated to like 6 houses in my neighborhood, and all of them just burned down, and luckily the majority of the homes were fine. And I was just thinking, like, there's got to be better as we, head into the kind of robotics era. There has to be better. Detection is one thing, but then actual response feels like an inevitable next step over time. If it's literally a single ember that can, be the reason that a multi-million-dollar property burns to the ground, we should be able to detect that quickly and put it out without having, a bunch of heroes in a truck drive 10 miles and come put it out with water, right? So how are you thinking about kind of like actual response, and is that even something that Ring would do, or do you think there's other startups that should leverage your guys' detection?
So this is where we worked with Watch Duty. So our Fire Watch, which is our system that we go into where AI is now watching your camera, you've put it in this mode and said like, yes, I want to share this. That then pipes right into Watch Duty. Watch Duty is what's happening. The command center has Watch Duty up. Residents have Watch Duty on their app. So that is the centralized place where the map is forming on the fire. And my hope is that, and being in the fire myself, I saw that like a bush is smoldering next to a house, and I could go put it out with my feet. People are like, how'd you put out the fire? And I'm like, I literally would stamp on it until it was out, put some dirt on it. Like, now, if that had kept going, and I don't know like the exact incident, but like, yes, that's what happens. Like that keeps going, then it burns a house down, then that house starts on fire and puts out more embers. And so if you could see that on a camera and say, oh wow, like this thing has jumped over to this area that's a quarter mile away, and there's smoldering next to this house, you can put it out so much easier and deploy those resources. So I think that's why what's great about this one is we're bringing the information in, and then it's going to Watch Duty, which is already being used by all of the people that are deploying the resources today.
Yeah. Are you excited about robots and drones as responders to various home security, wildfires? You have Boston Dynamics.
Sorry, Amazon has a drone that flies around your house, but is that a Ring project, or is that?
I built that.
You built that? No way. Tell us about that. How is that going?
Yeah, and then specifically, so Boston Dynamics has been showing off their new humanoids. I've been wanting somebody to build a humanoid home security product forever. I'd love to have a guy menacing. I mean, deterrent. It's having various criminals knowing that most homes now have video.
I mean, just those signs that you put in the ground.
American
that says protected
flags
by
apparently help.
That helps a little bit. But I would love to know more about drones and robotics.
So there's different layers to drones. I mean, so you have companies like Axon out there that are doing police drones and like literally are going miles. So from a fire, or, responding to something, there's that layer. And then I think there's going to be layers down all the way to where we were, which is like, I'd say the complete other side, which is inside the home. So having like a small drone inside the home that can fly around, see what's going on for security. I'm very bullish on the whole robotic space. Like in general, I think AI has also, what was so hard for us years ago when we were building this thing is now, I don't want to say it's easy, but wow, is it different? Like there's a real tailwind behind us. And so hopefully, I mean, you guys are in LA. Maybe I'll bring something by the studio in a few months.
Yeah, I'd love that.
But more specifically, is the idea of a humanoid pacing around your property, is that a reasonable deterrent? Is there?
Have you built one? Is one in your garage right now?
So here's the reason. The reason I say it is because like when people are like, "Oh, you have a robot that's going to do your laundry," it's like, well, I have a wonderful woman who does my laundry, and I like employing this person. And if you give me an $80,000 a year robot or $80,000 robot that's going to depreciate and it's going to do a worse job, I'm like, I'm happy with the human, at least for the next few years, right? Whereas hiring somebody to stand in your backyard
all night long, that's a brutal job.
That's like $150K a year. I don't know, for somebody that's actually like worth
and it's also there's all these studies of security guards that they like their effectiveness goes down, like it literally like algorithm, it's like it just falls off. And you think about it, it's like just because you get so bored, right? Like you're sitting doing the same thing every day, nothing's happening. So it's like the effectiveness of a security guard is actually, like a human security guard is very tough to be because it's not normal that you're actually doing something on the security side. So I do think robotics, I think at the higher end places, enterprise, maybe there will be, humanoid security. We always look at it from high volume, low cost. Like I'm always on like the high volume, low cost residential side is where we start. And so, what can we build to bring robotics into and around the home and the neighborhood that's affordable at high volumes? I don't think that's going to be a humanoid for a long time.
Yeah.
That said, if a humanoid costs $500 or something at some point, and you could do it, of course, like it's great. Like,
and I was saying to John the teleoperation potential here, which is like, hey, Ring detects something. I have somebody could be anywhere in the world. Suddenly they can pop into this embodied form factor and actually be a physical deterrent. Because I mean, so many people LA, like I talk to anybody that lived. I mean, the Palisades had like. Prior to the fire, an insane break-in epidemic. I have friends who would have multiple break-ins in their home per year. Super like elite operators that would come in, use metal detectors, figure out where your safes were, pull them out, throw them out in a truck. It'd be like 5 minutes, everything's gone. So there needs like video is not enough for true deterrence. Like there's going to have to be physical.
And we have stuff like virtual security guard that is, you can set it in, like, for my house, when I go to sleep, I set virtual security guard on. If someone comes on the property, they're notified, goes to a human. So like there's response. So I think that's really cool. I do think you're correct though in how you're looking at it, which is like, it's not just technology. Like the idea that like just technology is going to solve everything is not correct. I think we can use our IA, like our intelligent assistant, to bring people into the scene when they need to be on a limited basis. And when you do that, I think that's how, like, for example, what you're talking about the Palisades, like how you would reduce that crime or even try to zero out that crime, which I do believe we can do over the next few years with deploying the AI as well as merging it with other human responses.
How has the enterprise side or the B2B side of the business evolved? What's the shape of it? What trade-offs have you made to focus on particular niches or verticals? I'm interested to hear because obviously this technology applies everywhere.
Yeah, so we really started focusing residential. That pulled us into small, medium business. We're in over 500,000 small, medium businesses use us. We don't even know exactly all of them.
Let's go. Yeah, of course, because they treat it like homes. They buy it as like a prosumer, effectively.
Yeah,
exactly. So we don't like know exactly how many, but we think it's it's definitely north of call it 500,000.
Yeah.
And just like it's like how the iPhone sort of slowly got into, or not even that slowly, but got into the enterprise.
Oh yeah.
Like the iPhone, like Apple didn't have a bunch of salespeople go out and sell enterprise iPhone.
Yeah.
It's, the CEO brought the iPhone in that they had and said, I don't want this other one anymore.
I'm not using BlackBerry anymore.
I'm not using it.
Like,
that's exactly right. And so I think we've kind of gone slowly up the stack. Today, we actually launched a whole line of new cameras that are multi 4K lens, like really higher end. We call it the Elite line. And I do think that will sort of get us just kind of similar to the iPhone getting into enterprise. I think it'll pull us in. And we'll kind of see how that goes. We also now have an app store that people can build custom applications, because historically, again, pre-AI, a camera did security. Like that was all it could do in sort of reasonable, cost efficient way. Now, if you think about like a coffee shop, if you have Ring cameras all over your coffee shop, why isn't it telling you that a table was dirty and someone wanted to sit? Why isn't it telling you about the line? Why isn't it telling you about which team is the fastest? Why is it like we're seeing it, like it's all there. And so being able to allow the long tail to be built by entrepreneurs, just like any marketplace or any app store, I do think we're going to unlock a lot of value for enterprise and small medium business that way. So I'm really excited. We actually just launched that today too. We launched a bunch of stuff today. So
yeah, I can imagine that being really good. Have you been focused more on job sites than like large enterprise, like software campuses, that type of security? That feels like maybe a separate problem, but I could imagine you getting there at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like job sites have been great. We have a lot of solar powered cameras, so people use them. They put them on, like you'll see them on a pole. Like you'll just take one of. We have cameras with lights.
Yeah.
So that's also good on job sites. Like someone walks onto the job site at night, light goes on, cameras there.
Yeah.
We have a talk down, so you can say like you're being recorded. So like there's a lot. Like we have the virtual security guard.
Sure.
We launched today one of the trailers. So if you see those trailers that are out in the parking lots.
Yeah.
It's
usually solar panel on top and a bunch of cameras, that type of thing. I've seen those.
Yeah,
before.
so we launched one that's more of, I'd say, like a product, lower cost in that market. Again, high volume, low cost.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of years we sort of really have a big dent in the enterprise, but we're not going to do it through the front door. We're not going to sort of not be responding to RFPs. We're not going to have an enterprise sales force. We're going to just come in like the iPhone, like let it come in.
I feel like you could spin that up in a heartbeat at Amazon, but it makes sense for the overall strategy. One last question, and we'll let you get back to CES. How do you think about camera sensor technology in security cameras and door cameras? I was looking specifically at like a wildlife, like a squirrel cam for my son who's 4.5. And I was, but I'm also like a camera nerd. We use like, Sony FX3s and full frame cinema lenses here. And I was like, I sort of want like a 4K, not just 4K, but like full frame cinema lens hardened just to find my squirrels. And it's like a ridiculous thing. I don't know that that's a real product, but how do you think about the learning curve and just the diffusion of just better camera sensors, better lenses into these commodity consumer products over time?
Yeah, so there's definitely a diminishing return. Yeah. You can go to like a 20K or, like K sensor, and it's like not going to, for a again, very special applications, yes. But for like a normal home, it's not going to give you any more value. Yeah. I do think 4K is a giant leap. We now have a whole 4K line. Yeah. With our Elite line, we have like now like multi 4K lenses that are lens down to the pixels. So it's really pixel. Like what you really want to look at is pixel density. Like that. It's actually not 4K, 2K. It's like what is the pixel density that the camera delivers. And then that's also like the AI can only process what it sees. Like so the camera can only be as smart as what it sees. I do think the current line of 4K cameras we have right now, for most residential use cases, are as good as you're going to want at the price point. And then we'll just kind of just like everything in technology, as 8K sensors come down, as bandwidth goes up, we'll kind of keep adding that. But I do think we're right now like kind of right at the edge of that curve of price, price to sort of quality, what you need.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Jordy, anything else?
No, this is super fun.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This is a lot of fun.
Appreciate you making the time. Great to meet you. And happy customer.
Overnight success.
Thank you for.
Exactly. Overnight success. Exactly.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, enjoy the rest of CES. Have a great rest of the
Come back on soon.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Goodbye. Quickly, let me tell you about Restream. One live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want a multi-stream, go to restream.com. We have an exciting
duo
set of
here.
Next guests. We have Jeff Wu and Jake.
Let's bring them in.
Joining TBPN.
Here they are.
How are you guys doing? Welcome to the show.
Good. How are you? Thanks for having us.
We're good. Congratulations. Can you set the table for us on the most recent raise? How did it come together? What's the goal of the fundraise? How are you describing the strategy of the fund these days?
I mean, I'm happy to kick it off.
Please.
I mean, Anti-Fund, we think that boomer VCs are boring, and just like there are new AI companies and the next generation of American entrepreneurs like taking over just just like the business ecosystem, I think that the same opportunity exists for VC.
What was the original anti fund? Like, how'd you come up with that name? Why? What are you anti?
The boomers.
I think, a lot of time we're both founders, and we know how hard it is dealing with VCs and move slow and updates and not providing any value, and they just become a nuisance. And I think we were very founder first. And wanted to bring a value add. I think what we can bring is like distribution, marketing, all of these things, expertise on social media, advertising. We worked with, obviously invested into OpenAI, but then worked with the SORA team to help launch the product, brought in the content. So that's just like one really good example. But that's what we wanted to do, is just be anti the establishment essentially, and bring something new to the table that wasn't just money. We believe money is a commodity, and that things beyond that are way more valuable in helping grow the companies.
And I think the double click on that, I think as founders and as VCs, you have to be anti-establishment. I mean, we are disrupting existing large players. If you don't want to take over existing large markets, then you should not be in this business. So that should be what you expect as a founder, but you should expect that from your investors. If your investor's not as hungry as you, maybe you choose other investors.
What can you say on fund strategy, ownership targets? My assumption is that you guys are multi-stage, so you're kind of flexible. I imagine there's pre-seed rounds that you'd be excited about leading, but at the same time, you don't mind participating in a later stage round where it's a breakout company and you can, add fuel to the fire.
Yeah. I think the way we think about it is that we've taken barbell, but we call it extreme barbell. We want to be the first check in technical founders. And that's people just dropping out, and where their first phone call will put 100, 250K, just put them in the business. Or we identify and built, really great relationships with like Sam Altman and Mark Chen of OpenAI, and we want to support what we think will be generational defining companies. And I think everything in the middle is very hard. And I think we know where we're strong and where we may potentially, weaker.
Yeah, tell me more about this SORA partnership or that project. Like, how did that come together? What was the reaction? I feel like
did you hesitate at all about giving up your name and likeness? I mean, you and Sam Altman, you guys kind of jumped first, and I think it went surprisingly fine, right?
What was the reaction?
So they wanted to build a social media platform, and we met at the inauguration with Sam Altman. We were like talking about how there needs to be a new social media platform. What does that look like, et cetera? And so we just started having idea brainstorms, and it eventually turned into what SORA is, and then just helping them on the functionality. Me and my brother's expertise of however many years we've been making content, all the little dials, triggers, change this button, change that button, make this easier, boom, boom, boom. This is what fans are looking for. Super detailed stuff. But then once it finally came to launch, I gave my name, image, and likeness, and I knew it was gonna get crazy. I wasn't hesitant, and it just caught like fire. And obviously we saw the results and what happened, and it was a pretty phenomenal experience in marketing and like showcasing what the internet loves these days.
One of our portfolio companies, archive.com, tracked 1 billion impressions in 6 days of Jake.
Wow,
SORA.
That's so many.
Makes sense.
Well, what advice are you giving to folks who want to become creators in 2026? It feels like a completely different era from the Vine days. At the same time, there's some lessons that never change. But how are you seeing it?
Yeah, I would say authenticity is everything. I think showing your whole entire life is the key. If you're a new and up and coming creator, like the struggles, what you're going through, tell your audience about financially what you're doing or what you're having to do. Talk to them about your ups, your downs, share with them your life story. And then you just have to be posting. And I think a lot of people aren't good at editing, like simple stuff, captions, music, video, timing, how long is the video? So it is very difficult, and you're competing with every single platform as a content creator. You're competing as a content creator. I'm technically competing against Netflix. Why are they going to watch, some Jake Paul Instagram videos versus going onto Netflix. And so you have to realize that you're actually playing one of the hardest games, and people think it's easy, but it's actually a very, very technical thing, and you have to have a certain skill set to be able to do it, and you have to be entertaining. You have to be providing something that's a niche that no one has ever seen before. We have the Paul brothers, we have the Speeds, we have Mr. Beast doing his videos, we have Whistling Diesel blowing up trucks and cars. So what are you doing? That's different?
John has talked about this. You used to be able to get 1 million views by just having a Ferrari. Now you need to blow it up. The game's changed.
It went from have the car or rent the car to give the car away, where you take the tax deduction, to now you must destroy it. Which is
how do you? So 2025, there was a lot of founders doing like rage bait marketing. This style of like using rage bait in content was popularized on YouTube and various social media platforms. I would say, Jake, you've done this very, very effectively at times of being knowing I'm going to put out this video. It's going to make a lot of people mad, but a lot of people are going to enjoy it too, and they're going to become fans, and I'm okay to alienate some people. Do you how have you kind of like evolved like that? Even like, what is your framework? What is the right amount of rage to generate in an audience, and because you really need to thread the needle?
So the way I look at entertainment is invoking emotion. You want to invoke fear, sadness, happiness, joy.
That's good.
So, good.
So all of these
Not
things.
just fear and sadness. But you need all of them. You need all of them.
The full spectrum.
That's what I'm committed to, and I don't care who likes it or not. That's what I'm doing.
Emotion.
I posted a video where like I was acting like I was depressed, like traveling around the world in like my jet and on vacation. I was like, what is life? I was like, what is life even about? And I was trolling, and like my friends text me like, yo, bro, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, bro. But the video got like 30 million views because everyone was like, oh, this is like, I'm kind of sad too. Yeah, what is life even about? And just different random things like that. So just be committed as an entertainer to invoking emotion, and you can't care about the result of what anyone thinks, because at the end of the day, people will come back because they feel something. That's the key.
Sure. Someone asked me to ask you all-time record for bench press.
I've done 315 like 3 times.
There we go.
Let's fucking go.
There we go. What do you find yourself when you're talking with founders bringing up stories from like the fight game and different, because I met like building a company kind of can feel at times like waking up, opening your email, getting punched in the face, maybe an investor is rejecting you, a customer went with a competitor, et cetera, et cetera. You're pretty used to getting punched in the face and chewing glass at this point, and I imagine some of those learnings carry over.
Yeah, 100%. I say after boxing, everything is easy because you're actually physically having to fight every day and taking the licks and punches, and you have to bob and weave. Sometimes after the first round, you go back to the corner. Boxing is a great analogy for life. In your companies, you have to go back to the corner, talk to your coaches, reset, come out for the next round, and you can be losing a fight and still win in the end. Not me against Anthony Joshua. My jaw is broken, but
I'm sorry.
But
you're still yapping. He didn't take your spirit.
People were wondering, hey, can he talk on the show? And here it's proof.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a lisp right now because of it, but we're just pushing through.
This is SORA, Jake, actually.
Yeah. This is the AI version of me I tapped in.
Yeah. Can you talk? Maybe both of you could talk to me a little bit about focus. You're both involved in a ton of stuff. Boxing, content, investing, building companies. At the same time, W. At the same time, I think of you as very insightful early on the importance of daily work, daily repetition. It's every day, bro, is a meme, but I actually think it's deeply insightful and the key to many successes. And I credit a lot of the growth that we've had here with becoming a daily show instead of just this show that is every once in a while. And I'm wondering how you deal with focus and when is the time to go all in and do something every single day?
Yeah, you have to figure out that org chart for yourself in terms of what do you know feeds the rest of the ecosystem the most? And for me, that's boxing. But I look to Elon Musk as an example, right? How he's built some of the biggest companies in the world, and he's managing all of these teams, and he's devoted and, sleeps on the couch in the offices. You have to be that level of committed, and it's a non-stop working, hustling, whatever it is that you have to do. But I think the importance of having a great team around you allows you to be able to do a lot of things. I have Jeff. That boxing fuels the rest of the ecosystem, the content, the businesses, the attention, all of these things, the networking, the connections. So then Jeff can put his priority as anti-fund, etc., and it all turns into this great flywheel. But it's definitely just staying committed and working harder than anyone else that's doing it, or just as hard, and just really checking the temperature if you're actually doing that.
Have you guys done any recent deals?
The most recent things that we're excited. Well, I was going to say,
you're getting Happy Dad.
They just happened to crack open a Happy Dad.
Just wondering.
Yes, we are. Yes, we're happy investors in Happy Dad. Obviously, the Milk Boys are homies, and the CP Bros are great. It's a great operating team. Plus, I think that influencer-led CPG play, I think, is challenging, but like the very, very best operators, the best celebrities we like to partner with. So another example of that is Khloe Kardashian's Cloud Popcorn, and obviously our own businesses, W.
What's your guys' framework for investing in celebrity brands? Because people have the sense that they see celebrity brands that work, and they just assume that all
they
celebrity
don't see the graveyard.
brands. They don't see the Travis Scott with his canned cocktail brand that looked like it had a lot of potential but didn't go anywhere. And there's a bunch of other examples like that. I'm curious, like what you guys think the formula is. Is a creator limited to one brand over a 10-year period? Do you see multi-brand strategy emerging? What do you think?
Yeah, I think similar. I'd say it's similar assessment as a normal investment, right? 90% of startups fail. So I think we just look at that statistical norm and just expect, and even for celebrity led or not, to just have that statistical pattern. But then I think after that, it looks at, but what you do have is that you have an unfair distribution advantage, and you need to make sure that the market in which that distribution focuses actually makes sense, right? Like I think Happy Dad is a great example where Milk Boys to me is like the frat bro, older unk of internet. And there's, I don't know, they're like 30 now, so they're unk. But to me, that is a very good founder market product fit.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if celebrity or not, you just look at that thing as an asset, just like there's a technical advantage. Why are OpenAI researchers just raising a ton of money out the gate? Because there is an assumption that they have some technical ability to to find product market fit. So it's the same thing with a celebrity. It's just very distribution oriented. And I think it's maybe a little bit less quantitative. It's maybe more taste driven. I think that's where I think Jake, I value, and I think Logan as well, where they have seen over 10, 15 years of being famous, how many people that have come and gone as famous people. I think it's super rare to be top of field and relevant across multiple platforms for such a long time. So I think those are patterns we pull out.
What about the launch of W? I thought it was interesting because you didn't do what I thought you would do, which is direct to consumer, purely just sell just to the audience. You came out of the gate with a big retail partnership. And I think maybe some influencers or just celebrity type people, they forget that the CEOs of big retail establishments might be in their audience too. They might be able to get that introduction to Walmart sooner or Target sooner. And I was wondering how deliberate that strategy was. As you reflect on that strategy, would you recommend it to someone else in that position?
Yeah, 100%. I think playing across the board also is key. But we wanted to go retail first, and we saw the success of that with my brother's brand with Prime, and the accessibility of all of our fans walking through these stores on a daily basis. I would say a lot of my fan base is a Walmart shopper, and et cetera. So, being able to have those content points digitally, but also in person, and people seeing the things in stores, and being able to have retail, D2C, all of that, I think is super important. But we decided to go with the retail first strategy, and it's worked out great.
Part of, I think, the way that you guys have maintained such relevancy is just reinventing yourself. Obviously, you reinventing, going from a YouTuber to a fighter. Do you think about fighters have notoriously short careers? I mean, I'm sure you'll be able to come out of the woodwork when you're 60 and do the Tyson thing, lock up another 100 million pay-per-view. But I imagine at some point, maybe in your 40s, you'll reinvent yourself again. Do you think about? Are you thinking 5-10 years out around how you want to reinvent yourself again, or are you just tunnel vision on boxing at the moment and nothing else matters?
No, yeah, definitely no. I naturally will lead myself into politics without a doubt. Like it's within me. I'm passionate about it. I follow it very closely behind the scenes, and I try to speak up as much as I can to help my audience better understand it and to state my opinion on things. But I don't know what that exactly looks like.
Are you thinking like AI czar or president? What
Comptroller of a local city?
I just want to help the world, and I know it's needed, especially in the generations moving forward. And that's something that Charlie Kirk was doing. I don't know if it's something that looks like that, but it is needed, and it's very important. And I think since the beginning of my whole entire career, I knew I wanted to help kids and help the world, and that's what I've done with my charity and boxing bullies and renovating gyms and all of these things. But I know I can do it at an even greater level, and so working on some things in that area in the future will definitely be exciting.
Well, chat's saying Vance Paul 2028. So
let's see it. Let's go. Well, thank you.
Awesome.
So
great to have you both on.
Congratulations.
I'm sure you'll be back on soon. And congrats on the new fund and the recent fight.
And the portfolio.
Excited.
They got everything in there.
Yeah, you guys pretty much got them all.
Companies.
So it's been very cool to watch.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon.
Goodbye. Let me tell you about MongoDB. Choose a database built for flexibility and scale. With best-in-class embedding models and re-rankers, MongoDB has what you need to build what's next. Our next guest is Matt from Doctronic, who's the co-founder and CEO.
Here we go.
And we're going to welcome him to the stream.
What's happening, Matt? How are you? Can you hear me? Not yet.
I don't know, something happened with the AirPods.
There we go. AirPods are rough. They create the split-second delay. Now it feels like
I didn't know that.
We're face-to-face now. How you doing? Great to meet.
Yeah, great to meet you too. Thanks for having me on.
First time on the show. Would love a quick introduction on yourself and the company.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Matt. I've been building startups for a long time, 25 years at this point. Built a
overnight success.
Yeah, right. Built a big e-commerce unicorn called Moto Operandi a long time ago.
Yep.
A lot of startups, computer science from Carnegie Mellon. Doctronic is the #1 AI doctor, right? So got 20 million patients or 20 million consults so far, 2 million patients.
Wow.
And we're an AI doctor where anybody can come for free, talk to the AI, et cetera. And we have a telehealth practice behind it too. So you can talk to the AI, it's going to diagnose you. At the end of that, you can take all that information, full diagnosis, full treatment plan, et cetera, and talk to our doctors. So it's a pretty straightforward, simple process. Our doctors are available 24/7, licensed in all 50 states.
When did you start the company, and what's been the primary kind of distribution method? Is this something that people they have a pressing need, they want medical advice, guidance, they're going to find you? Or are you selling through, how are you actually getting 20 million people using the product?
Yeah, so we're direct to consumer. We launched in September of 23, so been around for a while. Actually, when we launched, there was this open question, did anyone want to talk to an AI about their health? It was kind of an unknown. It was, early in the GPT-4 days. And it turns out it's a resounding yes, right? People really want to talk about their health. The other question was, could you make an AI accurate enough to practice medicine, right? And it turns out you can. You can't just use the foundational models. You have to do a lot of work with them. And so we're direct to consumer. We get a huge amount of our traffic from just organic search. We get 150,000 people hitting the site a week. And then, of course, we're doing social networking, paid stuff, etc.
How much more do people when people have a doctor in their pocket, are they effectively talking to a doctor or an agent that's acting as a doctor? Is it 50 times more? Is it 100 times more than they usually would? Because I mean, I think everybody's experience, like, researching it was, doing a search, adding Reddit to the end. Now people might try a foundation model, and it's obviously giving a disclaimer. Well, we're a foundation model. We can't actually give, medical advice. Yeah. Do you have to put a disclaimer like that or how does it actually work?
Yeah, super interesting. So first off, let's talk about like how often people use it. So I think the stat is the average American sees their primary care doctor 3 times a year, which is kind of crazy. And of course, there just aren't enough primary care doctors.
For the guys out there, they're like 3 times in my life.
Yeah, right. I haven't seen mine in years. My wife is a doctor, which makes it a little bit easier. But but my wife doesn't want to help me anyway. Like that's not something you ask your wife. But yeah, so people are using the system multiple times a month, right? So we're close to weekly active users for a lot of people. So the question as to like what would happen if you had a real doctor in your pocket is, I think you'd talk to them about everything. You'd talk to them about how you wake up in the morning, your back is sore, you have herniated discs. Is it worse than a couple of days ago? You don't know, but you talk, right? Mm-hmm. And it slowly gathers all this information about you, right? Mm-hmm. So it's certainly changing the way people are interacting. As far as disclaimers go and such, our AI for most situations outside of the state of Utah right now doesn't practice medicine. So it's going to talk to you, and it's going to always say, "Look,
wait, in Utah, you guys, it does practice medicine."
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's the cool part. Wow. That's what we announced today. I'll tell you about that in a second. Okay, that's great. Sure. Yeah. So outside of Utah, let's say you're on a diagnostic pathway and you go through the diagnostic agents, et cetera, right? The AI is going to kind of come to this consensus, and they're all going to say, "Look, it's probably one of these 4 things, right? And here are 4 treatment plans for each of those. And here's a note that you can take to your doctor." And we're not practicing medicine. You can also take this to our doctors. This is all just for you to take to your doctors. It's a tool to help you communicate with your doctors. And it's more accurate than ChatGPT and Gemini and all those, because we're feeding it all sorts of, this massive corpus of medical documents that our doctors have written for the LLMs. And we've got lots of agents. We can get into details some other time, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't practice medicine at all.
That makes sense.
It's going to just
do you think that this aspect of Gen AI is still kind of underrated by the world? I had a kind of a weird, cool moment this week where my 1-year-old wasn't sleeping that well. My wife was about to hire a sleep consultant that we had hired for our first kid. She started talking with an LLM, and it basically within 24 hours had got the 1-year-old on a sleep schedule that was working again. And that was such a cool moment because I was like, we were happy. It historically, it was so worth it to hire a sleep consultant because if your kid's not sleeping great and and you get them sleeping great, it's like life-changing. But most families are not going to spend $1,000 to have some expert come and coach them on sleep schedules and things like that. So it feels like underrated at a society level. People just see the slop in their different social feeds and they're like, this is dumb. Why are we building data centers? And yet
I think you're right. I think it's totally underrated. I read the other day that 20% of ChatGPT traffic is health related. And for things like that, helping you sleep train your child, awesome. Use ChatGPT, it's great, right? But when you actually want to start getting into medicine, like real actual medicine, ChatGPT can't do that. It can't. I mean, even if it could, right, it probably shouldn't, right? But it's not going to help you understand a prescription and what the dosage should be and what the schedule should be. If you have high cholesterol, it's going to say you probably need to take a statin and then you need to get some exercise, which is great and true, right? And that's just helping you with your health. That's not practicing medicine, right?
Yeah.
And which, again, outside of the state of Utah, we're not doing that either. But we have a partnership with the state of Utah now with the Utah AI Learning Lab. And so that launched a couple of weeks ago, but we just announced it. So our AI is allowed to legally renew prescriptions for residents of the state of Utah with no oversight from doctors.
Wow.
I see Tusk Ventures on the cap table, and
Fei Li, the goat.
I mean, Fei Li, amazing. But Fei Li signals like you know what you're doing technically. Tusk Ventures signals like this is going to be a city by city, state by state like battle. At least, for those who don't know, Bradley Tusk worked with Uber and did a lot of the on the ground
regulatory athlete
work.
Hall of Fame.
Exactly, regulatory athlete. And so I'm wondering, like, do you think that there needs to be regulatory change on a state-by-state basis? Is there a federal preemption discussion in the mix? Like, where does all this go? And what are there any like keys to the success for you on the regulatory side?
That's an awesome question. So historically, not even historically, currently, states regulate the practice of medicine, right?
Sure.
If you want to practice medicine in a state, you get licensed by that state's medical board.
Yeah.
We believe that what we're doing is practicing medicine. Obviously, the state of Utah agrees.
Yeah.
And so we have been kind of mitigated from the laws in this AI sandbox with Utah that prevent non-licensed doctors from practicing medicine. We think this applies to other states too, and other states have regulatory sandboxes for AI, and we're talking with them as well. It's just that Utah is super innovation friendly and forward thinking. They're the first. They're the best. They're really good at this.
That's great.
What do you
think that the state's right?
Okay.
What do doctors think about Doctronic? Are they happy that their patients, because the patients coming in, they're informed, the Doctronic's already kind of summarized the symptoms and the conversations, gets them up to speed quickly, helps them process see more patients themselves?
We see like a 10x efficiency in our doctors in treating patients because the AI has done all of the work gathering things. My co-founder, who is a doctor, I'm not, but he is, he says it's like having the best chief resident in the world seeing every single patient for you. Right? It just does all that work. But then it says, look, it's one of these four things. You figure it out, but it's almost always the first one. Right? The AI is just that good.
Yeah. I've had a couple funny experiences lately. I went to the pharmacy, picked up some medicine. My wife asked me to ask the pharmacist how to use it, and I watched the pharmacist, just use an LLM to get the answer. I was like, wait a minute, I have a more expensive plan. I should just be doing this myself. So the demand is clearly...
Wait, you're not even using Premium Plus?
Yeah, wait, you didn't even run the deep research report on this one. But do you think that is there going to be some sort of stopgap where there's some sort of hybrid where you have a human in the loop to accelerate progress? Do you already have that? What role do you see as like building out the hybrid portion of the business in certain states that are maybe less aggressive about moving quickly on this?
Yeah, there's certainly a place to use those efficiencies you get from AI in the states that are not able to move that quickly.
Yeah.
Our hope is that hybrid approach won't last for long because we will prove that this is effective and works really well. It saves the taxpayer money. It makes people healthier. It reduces costs, right? The healthcare system is enormously complex and far too expensive.
Yeah.
There aren't enough primary care doctors.
Yeah.
No primary care doctor wants to renew prescriptions. Nobody went to med school saying, gosh, I hope I can renew prescriptions.
Yeah.
So I sure hope that we'll be able to move faster, but there are definitely hybrid approaches. We're already doing that with a bunch of our video visits in other states that don't allow for this.
Sure.
You have a background building in e-commerce, so a little bit of a tangent, but I was curious what you expect to see at the intersection of LLMs and commerce this year specifically. It feels like last year people started discovering and doing a lot of product research using LLMs. It feels like this year will be the year of like action.
I sure hope we're shopping, right?
What's that?
Like I said, I sure hope we're shopping in ChatGPT or Gemini, right? I should be able to buy something from there.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to go to Amazon. I should just be able to click buy.
Yeah.
Love to see that.
Yeah, something as simple as that. Yeah. Amazon's like, actually, we like our search ad revenue business quite a lot.
They'll figure it out. I'm sure they'll have their own LLMs or something like that. What do you think about like the actual feedback loop on the? I feel like there's the value of medicine is not just treating the patient, but then filtering those results back into future research efforts to update on what's working, what's not, both on the individual patient level and also on the societal level. How do you think about improving the system over time? It's a little bit different than just coding, in my opinion. But how are you thinking about successive interactions with the patient?
Yeah, I mean, AIs can learn more and remember more about patients anyway. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, we measure NPS with the AI and with our human doctors. And we have great human doctors, right? Like we pay a lot, we hire the best.
Yeah.
Everybody still likes the AI a little bit more. That said, I don't think that AI is going to replace that deep human interaction.
Yeah, of
right?
course. Yeah, that's right.
Like there's this easy 80% of these rote interactions that you have with a doctor where you're just like, look, my kid's sick, I need an antibiotic.
Yep.
Let's just figure out which one is most appropriate. Let's get the AI to handle that.
Yeah.
I don't, specialists diagnosing chronic conditions.
Yeah.
I think people are always going to be.
At the same time, with that, if the kid's sick, they need antibiotics. I feel like you should still maybe bring them into a clinic, get some data that can't be accessed on the phone. And so, doesn't that lead you to some sort of like B2B scenario or somewhere where you're acting more as a co-pilot than a B2C company? Do you think you'll get there, or is that something that's like adjacent?
I think that's adjacent to where we are right now. I guess the way I think of it is we are pretty well positioned to handle anything that can happen during telehealth visits right now. And that's kind of our goal, right? There's already a bit of a line drawn that said these are things that can happen with telehealth. And so, I mean, you're right. There are certainly cases where you just need to see someone. We had one the other day. I mean, they happen all the time, but we talked about one today. Someone had an appendicitis, right? The AI said, look, you need to go to an ER. You have an appendicitis and it's about to rupture.
Yeah.
And the person still chose to see our doctor. And it was great because the doctor said, I totally agree with the AI, but this is pretty emergent. Like, you probably should go to the ER.
Yeah.
And they did. And they were taken care of, and it happens.
Yeah.
So we're not going to try to do those things that we can't do via a telehealth visit anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, congratulations on all the progress. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, very cool.
And I hope you have a great 2026.
Are you the first AI licensed to practice law or
medicine?
Medicine.
Yeah.
First and only. Wow.
That is wild.
That's a compliment.
I feel like, I imagine in 5 years we'll look back on today as a very big moment. So congrats to you and the whole team. It's great to meet.
Congratulations.
Hey, thanks so much.
We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Appreciate it.
Let me tell you about Gusto, the unified platform for payroll, benefits, and HR, built to evolve with modern, small, and medium-sized businesses.
Let's Gusto. Let's Senra. Let's Lulu.
We'll bring them in a couple minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you about Cognition, the software. They're makers of Devon, the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team.
We have some breaking news.
What's the breaking news?
From 2 hours ago from XAI. They've raised a $20 billion Series E.
$20 billion.
XAI completed its upside Series E funding round, exceeding the $15 billion targeted round size, and raised $20 billion.
It's a huge
investors include Valor Equity Partners, Stepstone Group, Fidelity Management,
Antonio Gracias,
Qatar Investment Authority, MGX, and Barron Capital Group. What is Barron Capital Group? Is that Barron Trump? No. Since 1982. Okay.
Since 1982.
Not Barron Trump. Strategic investors in the round include NVIDIA and Cisco. Let's give it up for Cisco Investments getting in the mix. We're still working out the kinks with this gong. We're figuring out that was a clean hit. That was a clean hit, but we're figuring out the new kind of method, how to strike it effectively. But that was a great hit. XAI says 2025 was a year of breakthrough momentum where the XAI team advanced a multitude of key initiatives, including data centers, Grok 4, Grok Voice, user metrics, and Grok Imagine. I'm very excited to see what Grok pulls off. Grok and the XAI team pull off this year. They are highly, highly motivated, highly capitalized, crushing it on the infrastructure side, and a lot more to come.
Well, before we bring in our guests, let me tell you about Phantom Cash. Fund your wallet without exchanges or middlemen and spend with the Phantom card. You can see Bitcoin is back up $93,000.
There we go.
And let me also tell you about Railway. Railway simplifies software development. Web apps, servers, and databases run in one place with scaling, monitoring, and security built in. And with that, we are ready to bring in our guests.
Do it.
Elon is saying that we've entered the singularity. So he is fully AGI pilled, fully singularity pilled.
Lulu singularity.
GDP growth
narrative
is
singularity.
100%. With GDP growing 100% a year, $20 billion for XAI in Series E seems like a steal.
How about $200 billion?
How about $200 billion? I'm dying to see the user metrics. Eventually, people will pull out. Why are we doing bubble talk? Welcome to the stream. We have Lulu. Welcome. We have David Senra back in the studio for the seventh time. Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Guys.
How long are you in LA, Lulu?
It's a matter of hours.
Matter of hours.
Matter of hours.
Oh, it's like 28 hours.
28 hours.
Would either of you like a happy dad?
What is it? Is it beer? Oh, it's a fruit punch? Gluten-free fruit punch?
It's a fruit punch with 5% alcohol.
I'd like to see it for the ingredients.
It's the latest anti-fund investment.
That's great.
So
Yeah.
we've had
Nelk Boys, John Shahidi.
I think I'm the wrong demo for Happy Dad. I don't think it's.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
but I think it's a mindset.
Jeff Wu
It's a
described it as
mindset.
a frat
It's not an-
boy, unk frat boy brand, which is a hilarious way to
I
describe
am the right demo.
We're all unk. We're all unk. I turned 30 over the holiday.
That's
I'm
my God.
I was going to ask. Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah, you can tell. Age is setting in.
No, it's just the lack of looks maxing. Lulu, take us through the most recent post, burning up the internet, 3 million views. Give us the pitch.
Okay, the pitch is that every year has a big theme. All right, let's get. Thank you.
There you go.
All right. Every year has a big theme for where narrative alpha is going to come
And you
from.
decide it as the narrative executive.
And then I share what it is,
Yeah,
and then
yes,
hopefully
yes.
we do the thing. So in 2024, it was going direct. That was where the alpha was coming from because everybody was going through 3 different layers of intermediaries.
Yeah.
Then last year, it became just grab attention for some people at all costs. So that's when you saw the cinematic launch videos. That's when you saw the kind of
Yeah.
clulification.
No, it's
Yeah.
too many
And I said when
gaps.
everybody
Stop going direct.
I said
Lulu,
A little bit less direct.
Stop going direct. Some of you are not good on mic. Some of you just
Some people should go direct some of the time.
well, I also said if everyone has a cinematic launch video, no one does. It got to the
Yes.
point where it's like I'll just go to your website and I'll see what you do.
Yeah.
I don't need to see the 50th.
And they're all kind of the same. So companies were spending 6 figures on these cinematic launch videos. No, they are. They're like
Yeah.
150K. And they're all the same. So anyway,
How much
year-
did you guys spend on yours?
$2,000.
$2,000.
Oh, these are
And that included a
thrifty.
helicopter rental.
Yeah.
Which is, I think the helicopter rental was like
all of it.
1,900 of that.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Shout out
tour out for a
Ben
couple hundred bucks.
for handling the rest.
Shout
That was
out
a
Ben.
fantastic
Iconic.
video.
Yeah, value per dollar off the charts.
Yeah.
So this year, the narrative alpha is going to come from doing real things that are enduring, that are hard, that are going to stick around, and then just to keep doing that for a really long period of time. So I liken it to going to the gym. Instead of like fasting for 72 hours and not drinking water and then showing up for the bodybuilding competition one time, just go to the gym 3 times a week and do somewhat normal stuff, but do that for infinity weeks, and then you'll be a fit person.
Which founder is doing the best version of that right now, or the best job at that right now?
There's a bunch. Toby Luca.
It's hard to pick a favorite.
It's hard to pick a favorite.
All
Toby
your
Luca.
children.
I'm biased being on the board of Shopify, but I think if I were to look objectively, Toby is somebody who doesn't try to do the flashy thing. He's actually kind of averse and nauseous for trying to do the flashy thing.
He's showing much more of his personality too on his Twitter feed lately.
Yeah. Well, he also can't not. You know, some of these people, Brian Armstrong is another example.
My
like, if you
favorite
try to
Toby
suppress,
story
you
is
can't.
he did an obscure StarCraft podcast where he just, because he's a StarCraft fan, and so he just went on and talked about StarCraft strategy.
yeah.
And that was a cool, like, going direct moment years ago. This happened like 7 years ago. But it just felt like, okay, a lot of comms people would probably tell him, like, no, stay on message. Like, you should be talking about Shopify. But he's like, look, there's probably people in that audience. Also, I'm just having fun talking about StarCraft with some people that are interested in StarCraft. And so he did that. And it made him a much realer CEO.
Yeah.
It just kind of painted a broader picture of who he is.
And the StarCraft stuff directly translates into how he runs Shopify.
Oh, yeah.
He runs Shopify like a Zerg sword. You know, that's like his corporate
More
strategy.
pylons.
And
You know what's funny?
What?
I had breakfast with Kareem from Ramp. Do you guys know about Ramp?
Yeah, we're
yesterday,
What is it?
and we talked about Toby and his using his love of video games for how he actually runs Shopify. We had this conversation yesterday morning.
Yeah.
No, it's
I think more and
very
more
similar.
people are feeling that with agents now, where it's like it feels like you're
puppeteering
managing. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say a few
That
more
was the
things
point
about
that
this
Kareem
year,
made.
by the way?
Please, let's
okay,
go
so the
through it.
overarching theme is to do real things that are going to be enduring and lasting.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of the sub things under that. What makes things enduring and lasting? One is beauty is back. being beautiful is allowed again.
Looks
We've had a
maxing.
decade. Looks maxing for companies,
Okay.
pretty privilege for companies.
Sure.
Like the same way that people get better treatment. And they're literally seen as, Tyler's smirking because he's like, this is my era. The same way that people are seen as more competent, more intelligent, more trustworthy if they simply look and present better, the same is true for companies and products. So there's like put an inordinate amount, almost an extravagant amount of effort into that. Another one is...
It's so much harder, too,
Yeah.
because it's not just enough to have a pretty website. Like every you have to somehow demonstrate that it wasn't one-shotted by some vibe coding app, right?
Yeah.
Which you can make me a website that looks like linear.
Yeah.
Like that's really easy now, and
You
that was
saw-
like the
you
gold
saw
standard.
Dylan Fields' demos of Figma Make. He like vibe coded like 10 different websites, and they all had like the most obscure, because he has a lot of artistic references that he can pull from. It was things that I would never come up with, but all of them looked like not linear clowns. Like they looked like very unique, and I don't know. So
But it's
I mean,
like
you still get
beauty
inspiration.
and original thinking.
Yeah,
a combination of
the instantiation
ideas.
of it
Yeah.
was not what made it special.
Yeah.
It was the actual
So
idea.
there was basically a decade when we just had to pretend that every single thing in person was equally beautiful.
Sure.
And it was not allowed to say that something was less beautiful than another thing. And now it's allowed again. Apparently the Victoria's Secret runway show with the angels and the wings is back. It's just
back.
It's allowed. It's allowed to be pretty again. Another one is things that are not perfect. Just be yourself. But like CEOs just being themselves in a way that is maybe not optimal. Like Palmer Luckey can go on any show in the world at any time. He did a recorded Zoom with me. Toby did that StarCraft thing a while back. Brian Armstrong went on a podcast with, like, I don't know, 500 listeners or something a little while ago just because he liked the guy's content.
That's good.
Palmer Luckey is literally the best podcast guest in the world. I can't tell you the details of this. I spent a longer time with this, 8 straight hours trying to stump the guy. I was with him for 8 straight hours. I had to call in other podcasters that just happened to be there.
Call a friend.
I was like, I have nothing else to talk about, man. I just can't. And he was unlimited with like his knowledge on every single subject. Storytelling's off the charts. I've never met anybody with a mind like that.
Okay,
ever.
so here's the thing though. So people see Palmer. He's an archetype that founders want to emulate now.
You can't.
He's the ultimate Joe Rogan CEO, and I think that founders shouldn't feel this pressure that they need to be like that is a certain archetype, and it's possible that you can say like, oh, every founder should just have a growth mindset. Maybe you're not great on a 3-hour podcast. You should just become great. But I think people need to pick other archetypes. I feel like Toby is another archetype. Like he's not just trying to put up 50 hours on podcasts, right? It's more like strategic and different, using different channels.
He's about to do my new show, so we'll see how it goes.
So he'll be making 420 minutes of sustained, intense eye contact. I love this concept of calling in other podcasters for backup. Like, with your walkie. Code red.
So like doing sustained effort, accomplishing something great, that sounds amazing, but in the short term, like you do have to acquire some attention from investors, employees, customers. What do you think of, I love Jocko Willink's Instagram, where he goes to the gym every single day and he takes a picture of his watch in the morning just to prove that he wakes up. And it's this interesting thing because it's not as labor intensive as like going on a podcast, doing a whole tour. It's not really self-aggrandizing, but it just like reminds you of him every single day. And I'm wondering if there's a, I don't know.
You never forget about Jocko.
I never forget about Jocko.
That's true.
But I wonder if there's like a business equivalent of that might emerge. Maybe we can't just come up with it right now, but I wonder if someone will come up with something like that where you're like, oh, this person is in the zeitgeist constantly with something that's actually very high leverage as opposed to doing spending $150,000 on.
So Steinman
that's
has done
true.
That well.
Steinman
Right.
does that well.
He's done a great job.
Good morning. We are going to win.
Yeah.
Augustus does this. So anytime it rains anywhere in continental America, he has a comment on the quality and quantity of the rain.
Sure.
And if it's not raining, he's like, why is it not raining? It's raining in China. Why is it not raining over here? He's just made himself the weather guy. So any day that has weather is a chance for Augustus to remind you that he has a company.
Yeah. What were you going to say about Jocko? Dude? Yeah, you're a fan.
I also just spent time with him. And
how many hours?
You've been on a podcast tour. You talk to everybody.
So there is funny.
Was that the first time you met him?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
what was that like? I mean, can you give some context on your relationship with Jocko?
I can't tell you what was going on. I can just give you the context.
I'm talking history.
Yeah,
Was it
yeah. So
covert? What do you mean?
basically, yes, I can't
Was
tell
it
you what.
brunch? Was brunch
I
going
can't tell
on?
you
What
anything
do you
about it.
mean?
All I know is we just happened to be in an undisclosed location. We were the only ones up at 4:30 in the morning. I couldn't sleep.
Strip club.
And so no, I would never. Gross.
Never went to sleep.
I think he was deep in the Pacific.
No.
Undisclosed location.
So, anyways, I'm in this like hut, and there's nothing but the like windows. There's like a circular room surrounded by windows, all dark. And I see a slow, huge silhouette. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that? Oh, what the freak is that? And then I know his face, and I just see his giant head. And I have a big head, so I'm not making fun of him. I see his giant head, and I was like, and I open the door. I go, Jocko, come in here. And I was like, you don't know who I am. And I basically told the story. I go, just sit with me for at least a minute. Because as he was coming in there, he's been my alarm clock for like 5 years. Wow. And he's like, get up, get to the gym. Like literally, that's my alarm clock and has been forever. So yeah, I wound up having of course, we talked for a podcast about podcasting for like an hour. And I explained to him like the reason I started a solo history show, reading books of autobiographies is because I found your podcast in 2015 that was doing that for people that served in combat. Yeah. And these stories were crazy. And the book review was like an hour. And I was like, I'm learning so much. And then I'm also reading all these books. I was like, I should just do that for business.
Yeah, I should go back and listen to some of the old Jocko episodes.
We had a long talk because he just hit episode 500. And I was like, dude, you're a very clear communicator. Yeah. I listened to your episode 500 where you're talking about this is what the podcast is going to be. I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I was like, and he goes, that's because I don't know what I want to do yet. I go, just talking to another person like you've been doing is like not really differentiated. Go back to the book reviews. Read cool. Patton, read Napoleon, read Frederick the Great, all that other stuff, man.
Yeah, he's really good.
Do you learn new things from meeting someone in person? So you study them from afar to like the maximum extent possible, but then when you interact in person, is there like new stuff that comes up?
100%. Like it's just man, like I'm in trouble. Like I'm in real big trouble with this new show because I am completely addicted to it. Yeah. It's all I want to do. I called Rob Moore. We're going to have dinner with him. Yeah. We're all having dinner tonight. I guess everybody else knows. But so
doxing.
So
undisclosed location.
And he's just been lining people up. I was like, I want some fucking smart, driven other maniac in front of me every single day. I want to do this every single day. I can't do it every single day. Lulu's been insane with connecting me with all these people. She sent me we were together with Gabby in New York at the Cognition event, and you had the funniest thing. You're like, David, you have groupies, but your groupies are
90-year-old billionaires.
No, middle-aged, not 90.
90-year-old
middle-aged billionaire men.
Yeah.
And so she's been incredible about connecting with those people, and then I'll get on the phone with them, and like immediately you just click, and we can talk forever. Yeah. So yeah, of course you just learn so much, and then I'm high as a kite. I don't do any drugs. Justin was texting me about this masseuse. I guess I shouldn't say
this. I really want to know where this is going. You got to finish that sentence really fast.
Lulu texted me remember a couple weeks ago. You're like, we need to travel everywhere together. You need a
He needs a crisis comms person on staff with. It's like hockey teams travel with a dentist.
Yeah.
He needs a crisis comms person next to him to tell the waitress like, oh no, what he meant was, sorry man, he doesn't.
So to answer your question, you just learn so much more, and then even with somebody like James Dyson, right? I read his first autobiography 5 times. I've read his second one at least 2 times. I've read highlights from both those books dozens of times. I read his encyclopedia on the history of greatest inventions over and over again. I thought I knew everything about the guy. And then I got to spend 3 hours with him in New York. And it was just I was learning more about what motivates him, how he was. And the cool thing is how great all these people have been. Unbelievably witty, kind, generous, just like great people. I think I ended that episode with everybody says, hey, don't meet your heroes. I was like, fuck those people, they're wrong. I met my heroes.
Has James Dyson seen the Dyson Airblade meme? Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
No. So there's this meme that goes viral every Christmas. So you're familiar with the Dyson Airwrap?
Of course.
It's the hottest gift for men to give their wives, probably something like that. But it's usually used by women with long hair. And Dyson also makes the Dyson Airblade, which is when you're at the airport bathroom, you put your hands in, and it dries your hands very aggressively.
Can you stop doing
and
that
so and so the joke is always someone takes a picture of the Dyson Airblade and says, "I got this for my wife, and she's upset with me. What happened?" And it's just a very funny thing because imagine giving someone.
Can I use Dyson? Okay, one of the best comms case studies comes from Dyson. This is when the predecessor to the Airwrap, which was the blow dryer, was coming out, like the hair dryer.
Yeah.
And I actually flew to China and met with the guy who was responsible for spreading the gospel of the Dyson hair dryer in Asia at a time when everybody still thought of them as just like air filters and vacuums and stuff.
Yeah.
So what they did was, okay, normally what you would do is you have an ad campaign and then you put it in the stores and then you advertise that they're in the stores and you try to get people to buy them. What they did was they went in completely stealth mode under the cover of night and put them into the most expensive salons and then didn't say anything.
They told me about this.
So then, okay, I'll tell you the
No,
version
tell me,
I heard
tell
and
me,
then
go
I'll
ahead.
go. So they put them into we should learn to speak in unison. They put them into the most expensive salons, and then after every cut, at least for women's hair, I don't know what men do.
Sure.
For every cut, you get a blow dry. I once tried to not get the blow dry, and they tried to make me like pay extra. Like you must get a blow dry, so you got to cut a blow dry.
Okay.
So they just start doing your hair with it, and then it blow dries it much faster and better, I guess. And then the women ask, what is this thing? And it looks really different, too. It looks super futuristic. What is this thing? Where can I get one? I'm sorry, you can't get one. It's only for salons. You have to be a special. So now you've got the richest women in China with the right hair for it, who like really care about their hair, obsessed with this thing that they hope that they can get.
That they can't get.
Is it?
Yeah,
what
that's
else
the
is-
story.
The
crazy
does that
thing
come
is-
from Dyson or people he hires?
I don't know who it came from, but the interesting story is,
But is he a distribution genius in addition to being an inventor, or is he someone who's very good at hiring marketing?
He describes himself as an engineer.
Yeah.
There's a lot in the way Dyson thinks that's very similar to Kareem, where like, I asked him about this on the episode too, where it's like Dyson has a very simple organizing principle. It's just like he picks up a product and he's just like, why can't this be better? And so he goes, then I make it better, and then I put it back down. And then I pick it back up and go, why can't this be better? And I find another way to make it better. And he goes, I just never interrupted the compounding. So I've been doing it for 45 years. And so I just read about his family office. He's reorganizing his family office right now. He's the richest person in Britain. And from what I understand, the numbers that are reported are vastly under.
Do you want to hit the gong for him?
Does he have an heir to the Dyson empire? Like, do we know who this next CEO is going to be? Is it like a Warren Buffett situation where
So
Greg Abel was going to come in?
His son works in the business. I highly suspect they're going to go the route of what the Waltons did, where like transition to professional management. That's nothing they told me, but that's just like my
the feeling.
Read on the situation. What was the question about Dyson before?
Oh, just is he a marketing genius? Or is
Oh no,
he
the
just
engineer.
purely an engineer.
No, so his whole thing was just like, I just have to make it better. The crazy thing about the beauty categories, where she's talking about, is like, how do you actually infiltrate and like spread that? And it's exactly what Lulu just said. And then what they told me is, the biggest revenue category is still obviously the vacuum cleaners. It's like everybody has them. They're $500, like high margin, but their beauty category is only 10 years old, and it's also already the second biggest source of revenue. I highly suspect they think it's going to be bigger than the vacuum cleaners, but it gives you insight into Dyson, because Dyson is obsessed with vertical integration. And so he starts with beauty supplies, and then what else do you need? Well, what else now he has like styling creams and stuff like that. But it's not, he's like, I'm not just going to make a styling cream just to make a styling cream. He also has...
That's not vertical integration, that's horizontal.
No, check this out. I'm about to get there.
Okay.
So next year they want me to go to their UK. We're going to do another episode with them. I'm going to tour his UK headquarters and the farming, because he's essentially like applying some of the highest tech to farming.
Okay.
So this is the way he thinks though. If I'm going to do styling cream, every single ingredient from the styling cream and all these other things have to come from my farm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like Zuckerberg with the macadamia nuts.
Wait, he's doing macadamia nuts? I thought he was only doing beef.
No, he's got to make the
beef
nuts
eat
to
his-
feed the.
No, wait, really?
He plants the macadamia trees to get the macadamia.
I had no idea.
You don't? You just use store-bought
Yeah.
macadamia nuts?
Whoa.
No, I get chicken fingers from.
I talked to a guy that listens to Founders that like cornered the world market on macadamia nuts. He's like a young kid. What's the brand that's advertised on Rick Rubin's podcast and all the other ones? Okay, well, it's one like 28-year-old kid in like South Africa.
Wow.
Can I tell you about a beauty thing?
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, hit us.
So anytime something becomes a beauty thing, the margins get better and the cost goes up. So like Stanley cups, remember how a year and a half ago Stanley tumblers became viral? They did this massive influencer campaign, but they didn't go to like water influencers. So the way that Stanley cups were positioned before was a blue-collar working man would take a Stanley cup to work alongside his like pail.
Yeah, I always saw it as a camping brand.
It was, and then they went to beauty influencers and grouped it as a wellness product along their wellness and beauty things.
Yeah.
So you might pay $10, $15 for like a water bottle to drink water out of, but you would pay nearly infinite dollars for wellness and hydration. So they went to like beauty and wellness influencers who would do like yoga stuff, and then after their workout, they would do like dewy skincare, and then they would have like their Stanley thing there the whole time. So you could charge like 5x more.
That's very interesting.
When you talked about
That looks delicious.
I love these things. I'm drinking way too much, by the way. So when you talk about like the comps predictions for 2026, and you talked about there's going to be emphasis on beauty, like what is that actually like? What's an example of that?
An example is the basics, like the website looks good, the product looks good, but then the experience is beautiful. The experience feels calm and serene. There are some things where it just feels chaotic and stressful. It's like a beautiful experience, beautiful physical spaces. So physical spaces in general, I think, are going to be a big deal because these are, solid, tangible.
Anti-AI.
I don't think it's anti-AI, but we still exist here in MeetSpace, IRL, in the world of atoms. And so, like, making beautiful spaces.
It's a little rough. It's a little rough. It's a celebration of podcasting.
It's masculine beauty.
Capitalism.
I feel like I'm in like a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's very intentional.
On that note, so with Spaces, how do you coach founders on the value of community events? Because I've gone back and forth on this. Sometimes when like a small company is like, yeah, we're hosting a dinner with like a bunch of founders. I'm like, should you really host a dinner, or should you
Any founder that goes to dinners aren't any good?
So that's your take. No, but how do you like how do you understand the value of like community building in IRL community building?
So you have to define the community.
If you're going to create beautiful spaces, obviously you want people to, whether they're your team or customers, et cetera.
So one of the other themes I think are useful to. One of the other themes that I think is useful to think about for this year is qualitative over quantitative. So last year was very quantitative. It's just like get as many clicks, get as much engagement as possible. This year, I hope that we all think more about, well, who is it and what is it? And so who is in the community? People will say our community, and what they mean is anybody with a credit card. And actually, it should feel like, well, there are some people who don't belong in this community, because if it's exclusive, then there's more value to be. Like, you don't want to go to a club, that whatever secret club you went to with Jocko. People don't want to go into a club that anybody can walk into, like, right? You don't want to go into a club that has no bouncers.
CrossFit gym. It's a CrossFit gym just for podcasters.
That's great. Do you think we're actually in a post-rage bait era? Because he's
mad at the question
right now.
That's your rage baiting.
Because we saw a lot of rage bait projects.
I think every podcast is the same.
And then
they are.
And then Jordy wrote Rage Bait is for losers, and it felt like it did sort of update the Valley and VCs to where a VC would kind of say like, this is maybe not the deal I should be doing. They're going to think twice about it. It's a little bit less like handcuffs off, but.
And we had Jake Paul. We had Jake Paul on
it
earlier.
It just works, and it's human. It's human.
He's going to effectively make $1 billion from rage baiting, right? Like he's rage baited his way to $100 million.
Boxing?
Yeah, $100 million. Every time he fights now, he makes $100 million.
But how is that rage bait?
I mean, the entire
everybody's
marketing
watching
process
just to see him get knocked out.
It's the way he shows up. He's like he wants to be like the most punchable guy. He wants to be the guy that people want to see.
It's being the
punched.
heel.
Yeah, he's the heel.
Sure. Okay.
But so that's like a durable strategy.
But there's something underlying that. So underlying that is the heel persona, and then the actual punch to the actual face happens. He's actually in the ring. There are people who at least have created things that are just pure rage bait, and then when you sweep away the rage bait, there's nothing else there. It's just rage bait all the way
You said something interesting that me, John, and Jordy talk about off camera all the time, that people are chasing numbers, but it's more important than the numbers. It's like who is in that number. What does that number represent? So like if you ask John and Jordy, like they're not trying to be like Mr. Beast. They're not trying to get the most views. They said, I don't know.
Quality of audience.
I'll just say this publicly. They were like, we want the top 200,000 people in tech and finance and business paying attention to us every single day. like the best of the best. And if we hit that, they'll get everything they want out of life, as opposed to having 20 million, people sitting in Idaho. Or no offense to your new hire.
Nothing wrong with Idaho. We love
like
Idaho.
sitting Idaho sitting on a couch eating chips or some shit. Like it's just like that's not. I'm not interested in entertaining that person or educating that person.
Yeah.
But like this is something that it's fascinating. You brought that. Like you're bringing it to like what's happening in 2026, where it's like I feel like if you talk to podcasters, especially in business, it's like something we've been doing for a long period of time, where it's just like you're not just going after views, you're going after actually high quality people and giving them useful information so they can actually like utilize it in their daily life.
Like you would not trade one Michael Dell listener for any number of non-Michael Dell listeners for 500,000 millions. You wouldn't take it.
How are you thinking about, does AI have a narrative problem? Does it have a reality problem? Are we entering the new techlash, updated techlash probably?
We talk to Simon and Jetty about this all the time.
Yeah, and I just think like you can't, we have venture capitalists come on the show and they'll say like, I don't care about margins because we're displacing labor. And I'm like, you got to rephrase that for me. You got to replace you got to reposition that because you're pissing off everyone. On one hand, you're like, you're saying like we're burning money.
Yeah. Even the investors are unhappy in this case. David Senra was like, you make some money.
You're excited about, like you have people are, people are basically like they're like, no, this is amazing because it's going to create job loss, and it's like,
well, we're destroying jobs. You got
to figure out a different, and I don't even know. Again, you can debate on whether or not that's actually going to be true, right? Like hundreds of years ago, if you told people like you're not going to have to work in the field, you're going to have to you're going to go get your matcha, go to a Pilates class, and then you're going to send 3 emails, and then you're going to go home, and that's going to be you're going to earn a living like that. They feel like
day in the life.
Day in the life.
Sounds like a good TikTok.
Office cafeteria.
But yeah, the comms issue in AI
and just tech broadly. There's so much. We just talked to a guy who now has made an AI that is licensed to practice medicine in Utah, right? Should be a huge white pill, right? It's going to be like the cheapest possible way to get access to healthcare, what should be really quality care,
and
right?
also just inconvenient. Even if you have the money, you have to go to the doctor, book it. It's a whole thing.
Like,
lowering access is like amazing, but there's a lot of tech leaders who aren't making that case effectively. What do you think?
You know the David Foster Wallace anecdote that he said with the 2 young fish are swimming and they come across an older fish, and the older fish says, "Morning, boys, how's the water today?" And they said, "What's water?" AI feels like water to fish now. It's like everywhere all the time. And so when I see companies try to use having AI as a selling point, it's like bragging that you have cloud storage. Or like, right? Like, yes, and I think
software
there's a lot
now in the cloud
with connected solutions. It feels not only just tired and worn out. What is it that Dave Chappelle said about Afghanistan? It's bombed out and depleted. There's just no more value to come from using the list of AI buzzwords. People are fatigued. So just skip to what is the thing that it actually does, and then prove to me that it actually does do that, and then you're good. And then as for the broader messaging,
it feels like tech is right now is a heel, right? It's like, we're going to automate a bunch of work. And tech has historically played the role of we're connecting the world, we're changing the world.
We're just giving you something that delights you.
And right now, the tech industry is like unintentionally operating as the heel. So it's like if you want to be a heel like Jake Paul and you want people to kind of
try to punch you,
want to see you get punched, that's one thing. But I don't think the tech industry actually wants the entire world to hate it.
No, not at all.
Well, there's a tension between what you want to say to attract talent and then what you want to say to not be hated and maybe get customers. And these people live in different worlds. So the customers and please don't hate me category of people are not in this tech bubble, whereas the engineers and technical people you want to attract very much are. And so sometimes companies feel like, I get this question a lot, like how do we talk to both audiences at the same time? And sometimes what they'll do is they'll say, okay, well, talent matters most of all. We're just going to talk about how awesome and technical this is and how much money we're all going to make and how many jobs it'll replace. And then that lives forever, and now they have to go encounter normal people, and their reputation is...
and the old interviews are going to get pulled up. right? Like how often do the lab leaders have a comment that they made about like at a less wrong like adjacent convention like 7 years ago comes up today, and it's like, wait, you're trying to sell me AI. You were telling people 7 years ago that it was going to kill everyone.
Yeah.
How do I square these things?
Yeah, the famous quote is Sam Altman, something to the effect of, AI might kill everyone, but in the meantime, it will create a lot of profitable businesses. It's like you're clearly trying to talk to two different audiences in that same sentence. One is like, I'm taking AI doom seriously, which is good, but in one community gets that and likes that. And then another is like, hey, there's economic opportunity here for businesses and startups, and he's kind of put his YC hat on for that one, and it's like two different messages in one sentence.
So what people miss is that there is overlap in the Venn diagram. So it's not just over here and over here. Like there's actually some overlap, even if it's just a sliver. So for example, the concept of what makes my own life better, and it's made my life better so much that I want this for other people too. That appeals to talent, that appeals to normal people, or something that is like, okay, in this world where a lot of things are ephemeral or fake or are not making our lives better, I want to make something that is high quality and enduring that I'm proud to one day tell my grandkids about. That's a great message for talent. They don't want to build the next little toy that goes away in 6 months after raising a bunch of venture money. They want to build the thing that is like an enduring an enduring artifact of human ingenuity. And that's the thing that people also want to experience.
I think Bezos has the best line of this. He's like, we're trying to build something that we can be proud to tell our grandkids about. It's like if you look at what you're doing, like through that lens, it's like, would it be, if your grandson's on your lap, 20, 30 years from now, like, would I be proud, like, granddad did this shit? We were on the phone, you mentioned about being anti-ephemeral as like something else that you think is going to happen in 2026. Like, can you say more about that?
I don't know that it'll happen, but it's what I hope will happen, and it's what I would encourage founders to try to make happen, which is so much is happening all the time. So I looked up the literal technical definition of white noise, and it's basically just maximum intensity at every frequency all together so that it's mushed into this nothingness. And that feels like the information environment that we're in. And the only way to break through the white noise is you don't actually compete on being loud. And competing on like temporary intensity is not it. But one normal volume or quieter note that is sustained for a long period of time actually does cut through. The other thing that cuts through is super personalized and super local things where someone could only be talking to you. Like if you're at a cocktail party, have you heard of the cocktail party effect? If you're at a cocktail party,
I wouldn't be at a cocktail party.
You're at a secret podcaster CrossFit retreat in the ocean before the Venezuela raid, and there's just noise and you can't hear anything. But if somebody says David Senra by David Senra featuring David Senra, then you would hear that because this is like the secret frequency for you.
Yeah, people love hearing their own name.
Yeah, but people also love hearing the thing that they are feeling and can't express articulated in words that they wish they could have thought of.
This is going to be a random thought that kind of affirms what you just said. I just spent a crazy amount of time reading Bruce Springsteen's autobiography, and it's kind of crazy because it's 600 pages, and he wrote the entire thing by hand. It took him 7 years. He wrote it like out longhand multiple times. But he said something that I feel one of the reasons people listen to founders is very similar to why he says people go to his concerts. He's like, people aren't coming to my concerts to learn something new. They're coming to remember something that they know that they already know is true. To be reminded, to be reminded of what they already know is true. I think it's very powerful.
There are not that many new truths in the world.
Yeah, play the hits.
Play the hits. There's a few eternal truths that resonate to all humans from the dawn of civilization.
I need to put like faces on these ideas though. So like, who else is doing comms the way that you would recommend? Like, who do you just think is doing the founders are doing the best at this? Are they just literally all your clients? Just like go to.
Well, part of it is you're selective about the clients you work with, so you have the luxury of being like, well, I only want to work with people that I think can be great because I am going to be limited in my ability to provide a great service by how great, like somebody like Augustus, like fresh out of college, you can tell from a first conversation with him that he has a potential to be a Joe Rogan CEO, right? Like that is just something within him, right? And you can identify that pretty quickly. At least I personally can clock that in like a 15-minute interview if somebody's going to actually, if somebody's like well suited to be the kind of going direct CEO, that kind of thing. But there's different archetypes that work for different
Augustus
people.
is amazing. He does his own stuff. Like he's had these huge high profile interviews. He just sets it up. I have a couple Augustus stories that I think are so emblematic of how he does these things. One is the first time we ever met was after like a Founders Fund event, and everybody had this huge sushi dinner. And then the next morning, which was 8 hours from the time the dinner had concluded, he texted me, he's like, want a lift? He's just like always on. But the second thing is there was this incoming potential hit piece about how it was about how the Gundo was too male dominated. You know, there was some reporter that was still stuck in 2019, wanted to write an article about like there's not enough female representation in the Gundo, and he texted to me and he's like, gotta go consult with the boys. So he goes and consults with the boys, and he's like, all right, we're ready to deal with this. What should we do? And I said, well, I think you should just talk to her. And he said, has anybody ever tried just being hot and charming? I actually think, no, it hasn't really been tried. You should go try it. He tried it, it worked.
Do you want to know the advice I gave Augustus?
Didn't that work with Shkreli too? Martin Shkreli? Didn't he like risk up the like journalist?
Oh, goddamn.
We were ended her marriage, and then she wrote a book about it. She left her husband.
No.
That's great.
Alpha widow.
I guess the advice I gave him. You need to spend more time with these older entrepreneurs. I swear to God, because he's like, me and my boys are killing it. I go, listen, man. Like, I like you. You're a nice kid. There's 100 fucking companies there. 5 are going to be here 5 years from now. Like, they're all dead. They don't even know it. Like, you're just, you don't know what you don't know because you're so goddamn young. I go spend time with older entrepreneurs. I just promise. Like, still hang out with the young guys. Still do whatever you're doing. It's like, just talk to somebody that actually survived, was successful and survived for half a century.
This is good. You're going to bait the Gundo into having 100% success rate. We're not going to let this podcaster come over from Miami and say that only 5 of us are going to be standing here.
That is how they operate.
Yeah, this is good. I can see what you're doing.
No, it's all startups. It's not just that. It has nothing to do with their wherever they happen to be geographically concentrated. It's just most of them are all dead. And that's the point. Just like you're paying attention. This goes
building enduring things.
Exactly. I'm anti-ephemeral. I am succeed today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 40 years from now. Like that's I think the important thing.
I'm scared. You told me that I introduce a lot of people to you. I'm scared to introduce someone to him who hasn't been in business for like 10 years and made billions of dollars because he's snobby about it.
I will.
He's like, call me when you're a billionaire.
No, that's not true. Kind of. No, I've been doing a bad job of just hanging out with all the older entrepreneurs because this is what I happen to be interested in. And no, because you just learn. Dude, I told this story recently. It's like I spent, I'm part of the thing about differentiation, which is why I love Dyson. And I think we talk about this all the time. Podcasters don't think about differentiation. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to grab some interesting podcast guests that I know are really good. But I also want to convince people that don't do podcasts at all to come on. And I've spent a lot of time doing this, and it takes a long time.
He's getting it. You saw that?
I didn't curse.
Almost, but he pulled it back at the last second.
And so I talked to one guy. He's 71 years old. He worked in his company for 50 years. He just sold it for $50 billion. Wow. And I spent an hour with him in New York. Yeah. And the information he transferred to me in an hour, it's just like, it's crazy how much information that could happen. So I have to do a better job of like taking that information. I mean, I guess I don't have to do a better job at this. I do this on the podcast. Just listen to the podcast. Like take the information from the old guys and push it to the young ones. You just got to listen. I want to go back to this though, because I'm still not getting what I want.
Who's doing it well?
I loved your Pirate Wires piece that came out, I think, yesterday or the day before. It literally just comes down to this last paragraph. Like the people who are really going to stand out are the people who are willing to be candid and truthful?
Yes. So,
agree with Jake Paul. That was his #1 advice for creators in 2026. It's very similar.
You, me, Jake Paul.
Yeah, everyone's.
Well, I feel like when people are like the idea of authenticity is important. People have just heard that so much it means nothing anymore. It's just like it's important, but then they don't actually go and practice it.
Can I tell you a secret?
Why don't you think they practice it?
I think people are.
They don't love.
They're scared. They're scared, and they're getting gaslit.
They don't love themselves.
What? Why'd you have to take it to another level like that?
Because that's all the stuff that's important. It's like I'm looking at what's real in the noise.
No,
I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people
from the outside.
A lot of people are so terrified of what other people think about them. They have low self-esteem. I have this argument with most people think entrepreneurs are like too arrogant, and I say the opposite. I was just like, we could have so many more entrepreneurs. We don't have an epidemic of overconfidence.
We have an epidemic of humbleness.
We have an epidemic. No,
America's too
we have
humble.
More hubris.
Number
We
one
have an
humble.
epidemic of people that don't believe in themselves enough.
Which is why they
probably
let
true.
themselves get gaslit.
Probably true. Yeah.
So
How?
the
I
secret.
don't
Okay,
understand
so I'll give you a little bit of a roundabout answer because you asked who does this really well.
Okay.
Eric and Kareem
Yeah.
were great
What company are they
before
with?
I met them.
What company is it?
Time and money. Time is money to say both. They were great
Do I have
before
a
I met
rap shirt
them.
on? No. Oh, goddamn.
We're on it. We're live on it. This is why they were great before I ever met them.
Yeah.
And if I had never met them, they would just continue to be great. And when we talk and brainstorm, a lot of these, it's not like they want to do nothing or they want to do something that sucks. And I'm like, no, you should do something that's good. And they take that away. They have the fire, the ideas. There's a million things that they want to do. And sometimes it's helpful to have somebody bounce that with you and say, like, even if this is not normal, do it anyway. Right? A lot of times,
You got a little
CEOs
like Rick
going-
Rubin in you. Has anybody ever told you that?
Is it the beard? The hair?
No, it's not. I'm stuck in this edit from hell for like 15 hours. That damn episode's only gonna be like 40 minutes long, but I kind of messed it up. And so I'm like, I've been inside of his brain for a while. And then I also re-listened to the old episodes I did on him. I really admire, like, do you remember when I texted you? I was like, dude, or I didn't say dude. I was like, I want you to do the new show. Do you remember how you responded?
What
You
did I
said,
say?
you're crazy. And I was like, no, I'm serious. No, I was like, I'm serious. And then
Oh,
you hit me.
I said, David, are you out of your mind?
Yes.
Yes.
And then you hit me with the meme. Do you remember the meme you sent? Have you ever
I
seen this
remember anything
meme?
past yesterday.
It's like, oh my God.
Oh, is the Big Bird at the table?
Yes.
I
so
sent
you
him
do
the Big
know
Bird
it.
at the table.
And so it's like Lulu's Big Bird, and you have like Daniel Ek or Brad Jacobs on the other ones. I'm very fascinated and kind of obsessed with people that have singular careers, and that's what I told you. I was like, you're literally like, people don't. I don't even know how to say your last name. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Because I don't even ever hear it. I don't even ever hear it. It's just Lulu. You have a very singular
I've
career.
only seen it in writing.
But the stuff here that's coming out of your mouth is very strange to me because it sounds like I'm hearing Rick Rubin, which like you should read his book, The Creative.
I have. It's great.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of you got a lot of Rick Rubin.
But sometimes you just give people permission to do the thing that they would have liked to
sounds
do.
like Rick Rubin.
That the world is telling them is not normal and they shouldn't do it.
Yes. And his whole thing is about listening without judgment. And just like you go into this idea where like the world is way more complex than we tell stories about the world, but we don't actually understand what's going on, right? And so his whole point was just like, stop overanalyzing, stop overthinking, like try it and then see what happens and see how it feels. And he basically goes off a lot of intuition and he thinks like essentially, I'm not gonna speak for him, but I highly suspect that he thinks the truest human wisdom is actually in like from the subconscious, not from
right.
like the rational like part of our brain or even the storytelling part of our brain.
Yeah, which suppresses the
But
good part.
again, he does a great job too because like obviously he went direct. He has his own podcast, but when he goes on other people's podcasts, it's not like, oh, who's this? He's the same person everywhere he goes, which goes back to your importance of consistency. John, don't even try to end the show.
We got to hop on with Munich. Sorry. This has been a fantastic
I can feel the
show.
body language as soon as you do this.
Thank you so much for coming
That's
on
the mark
the show.
of a good podcaster. Yeah.
It's been a fantastic show today.
We
Thank you so
almost
much
made
for
it to
taking
the
time.
fifth hour.
We almost did.
How
But
long has it been? How long
we
has
do
it
we
been at it
we do
for
have to
just
hop
under
on with
10
Munich in
10
just a
under
few minutes.
4 hours.
And
Nice.
we'd love to have you back on the show many times this
Thank you,
year.
guys.
It's gonna be a great
See
year.
ya.
It's going to be fantastic.
Thank you both for coming
Cheers
on.
to the year.
So early.
Thank you, guys.
David just had to get one more podcast in
Podcasting.
for the
He
day.
had to
He just
do it.
couldn't.
He had
He's
to
got
do
a
it.
true addict.
Thank you, everyone, for listening
Thank you, folks.
to TBPN today. We will be back
Love you.
at 11 a.m.
Looking
Pacific
forward to
tomorrow.
Thank you
Goodbye.
for tuning in.
Bye.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
The four of us need.